away from the airport.
Check me out.
He tells me my energy is making me tired.
Yes! How do you get the energy to do
I have a lot of energy, but my goodness, I think today I have met my match people. I have met my match misses. Wow, amazing.
One of the things that the start of the darkness supported myself and the world will adjust. And 2019,
Forget the proverbial boardroom. Join me, Simone Frazier, on the CEO, the program that gives you the driving seat over your life. Every Tuesday, 8 p.m. only on Starr Radio.
Getting onto the property ladder has never been easy until now. Join us this and every Thursday from 7 p.m. to 8:30 p.m. live on the Property Hour show on Starr Radio UK, where we talk to mortgage brokers, property developers, estate agents, landlord, tenant, property consultants on how to invest or get into the property business and make money. You can't afford to miss this. The Property Hour show is your best source into the property industry.
Please stop crying.
Listen to Aunties Mary, Lottie, and Regina on the Family Enrichment Program on Starr Radio UK. This and every Saturday from 6 to 8 p.m.
Some people are wicked because don't make it your business going about revealing
people's secrets. Don't be a busybody.
And some people, today's typical family is under pressure from various directions. Divorce is on the increase. More and more of the Afro-Caribbean youth are taking to crime, etc. The Family Enrichment Program brings together qualified experts to discuss and shed light on how we can make our families better and stronger. It is said the family can do without the society, but the society can't. Listen to the Family Enrichment Program this and every Saturday from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. on Starr Radio UK, your favourite Afro-Caribbean radio station in London.
Download our app in iTunes and the Google Play Store.
Hi guys, this is your friend Urush from SendWave. SendWave is a money transfer app that is used by people all over the world to send money to their loved ones in Africa. With SendWave, you can send money to Ghana, Nigeria, Kenya, Uganda, and Tanzania. And the best part is, SendWave is absolutely commission-free. Our exchange rates are excellent. You can see for yourself by checking them out on our website. So how do you use SendWave? SendWave is an app that you can download onto your phone from the App Store or Google Play Store. The app is free to download. After downloading it, just open the app and enter your name, email, and phone number. That's it. You're good to go. Make sure you use the promo code SR. S for Starr, R for Radio. This promo code will give you £5 free credit to send to Africa on your first transaction. Your money will be delivered to your recipient within seconds. Feel free to call me on 0749 7377 647 at any time. I'll be happy to tell you all about SendWave and help you in any way I can. Remember to use the promo code SR for £5 free credit. Vedase. Hi everyone, it's your girl BB Clemens, the author of How to Go from Employee to Entrepreneur and the host of your weekly business show, BB Means Business, the show where we discuss everything you ever wanted to know about business that you were afraid to ask. How do I start my business? How do I raise the finance? How do I grow my business? Where am I going to find my customers? Join me every Tuesday at 1:30 p.m. on Starr Radio UK to get all the information and tips that you need to become a successful entrepreneur and become financially free. Remember, don't let life dictate to you. Rather, put your signature.
Are you looking for the fastest, reliable, and trustworthy door-to-door shipment company? Well, look no further. When was the last time your family received a shipment back in Ghana on time and in time? You are not sure? Well, Lam Shippers, we pride ourselves with being the fastest, reliable, and trustworthy shippers you can use. You are assured of a prompt pickup anywhere in the UK by our personnel. They also make sure your items are well packaged to get to its destination in time. When it comes to door-to-door shipment, look no further. Well, Lam Shippers, contact us on 07939009321 or 074-98-911-820 Or you can visit our website www.welllamp.co.uk. You can also drop us a mail info@welllamp@gmail.com. Well Lamp Shippers, fast, reliable, and trustworthy.
Hi there. Are you dreaming of owning your own house in Ghana? Then you will need a well-documented piece of land that is free from troubles. I highly recommend My Africa Property for any size of land that you will need. With My Africa Property, lands are available in Pram, Sopoli, Tohenia, Ogome, Dodoma, Winneba, and many other locations at affordable prices. 35 minutes.
The best radio show. Broadcasting worldwide, online 24/7. All around the world. In your car, at home, on your smartphone. It's Starr Radio. Are you ready to turn it up? 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
And a very good evening and welcome live to Starr Radio UK. It is the finest African and Caribbean radio station in London. My name is OLAMILEKAN and we'll be taking you home again tonight. The 10th day of May, which is exactly 10 days away from May. And I hope it has been a very beautiful week since we left you last week. It's great to be back again. First and foremost, I would like to appreciate my producer, Mr. Frank David and Mr. Archie Amon, that are working around the clock to make sure that we can get to you from wherever we are. And I'd like to say thank you so much to all our listeners and viewers that have joined us as well. Tonight is another special night that we will be discussing the current affairs, the situation in Nigeria. There's quite a lot going on in Nigeria, and I'll be telling you some of those things happening because we are now literally about 19 days before the handover. We also know that there's a lot happening. Nnamdi Kanu is still being held, in the custody of the DSS. I'll be discussing that, in details tonight. We are also aware, that the Yoruba nation continue, as we all know. But one thing is, Nigeria is full of different mixed match. The PDP and the Labour Party are not yet satisfied, with the latest when it comes to the last election that was held in February, 2 months, February, March, April. So literally about 2 months away, there is still a lot when it comes to, the petition. Are we going to get a final closure, in terms of the petition? All these I will be discussing and I'll be reviewing later on tonight. And I want you to stay with me as well. We've just completed the King's coronation on Saturday. It was quite interesting, and there will be a lot I will be discussing as well, when we get to that part as well. I think we need to start with a very sip of water. Shout out to those of you that have joined us so far. We would like to appreciate you if you have joined us, and I say kudos to everyone that have connected on the sister platform as well. And I say good evening and welcome to Starr Radio UK. Starr Radio UK comes up, where we discuss so much. There's a lot going on as well within the Nigerian community here in UK. But one thing is that the Nigerians in Libya are getting in touch with us, and they're telling us that there's a lot of things happening there. I'll be discussing all that as well later on tonight. So sit back and let us enjoy, the full program tonight. And like I said, we couldn't have done this without my producer, and I'd like to appreciate him as well. Keep the comment rolling in as well. I'll be reading your comment out, as you do know that we love to read comment, so that we all know that we are all engaged in this conversation. Nigerians have been asking, for 63 years, why has Nigeria not worked? The reason because the military were in power for a very long time, and that literally means that, a lot of things did not go as planned. When we look at Nigeria, we would understand that, the military, destroy a lot. And today, it seems that the same military are still running the show underneath, even though we are aware that, we have a democratic government in place. President Muhammadu Buhari, as we know, is still in London, according to his media aide, even after the whole event from the coronation. We expect him to have traveled back to Nigeria, but information says that Buhari will still be in London for the next 1 week. So that means President Muhammadu Buhari is not going anywhere yet. I would like to appreciate you once again, those of you that have joined us, Mrs. Kemi, Usikalo, Iyaodua, Christina Bamidele, Ganil Muji, Oyefara, Ganil Dorcas, and the rest of you, Omotosho, Olawumi, and everyone that have joined us so far. It's going to be an interesting program. Sit back. It's just under 30 minutes away. We're going to be running the program up to just about 8:30. We will see if we can take calls, but I do promise you that on the 23rd, you will have opportunity to speak direct into the program, where you'll be able to tell us the 8 years of President Muhammadu Buhari. What is your take on it? The economy, has gone very bad. Inflation is very high. A lot of Nigerians are now living in more abject poverty. And the question is, can Bola Tinubu, the incoming president, do anything different that Buhari could not do? It's the same APC, but we understand. Thank you so much, Queen Momo Omolara, for joining us. Mr. Shola Abikoya. If you're watching me, you can tell us what you're watching so that we can give a shout out to you. If you're celebrating your birthday in the month of May, happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to myself, as I do know that my birthday is coming up, this particular month. My birthday is just a little bit after the inauguration. That is subject to if everything goes as planned. We will start with the petition. When we say petition, what do you understand by that? What does it mean? When people say petition, a lot of times the Yoruba people have petitioned the federal government of Nigeria here in UK. Petition as something that is very, very key when it comes to asking for your right. I'll be giving you some of the news headline, very, very sad one. A man got killed in Lagos State. He returned from America. He wasn't killed alone. It was a hit and run, a truck. And these are some of the questions that we do ask. May Nigeria not happen to any one of us, but sometimes Nigeria does happen to us as well. Once again, it is the 10th day of May 2023, 15 minutes past 1800 hours. I don't want you to get lost when we talk about the 24 hours clock. It's just that is the way we operate here from Starr Radio UK. So when I say 1800 hours, it literally means 6 p.m. but quarter past 6 p.m. There is a lot going on. Have you heard about the Tony Elumelu and the Otedola? This discussion is going on. I will be discussing that as well. But one thing is, election comes and go every 4 years in Nigeria. But it seems that each election, there's never an ending to it. That literally means that, some are satisfied while some are not. I remember when, in 2015, Jonathan, and I'll be telling you some of the petition that has happened here in UK regarding sanction to Nigeria. There's about almost 221,258, where the title of that petition was Implement Sanction Against the Nigerian Government Official. I'll be telling you a little bit about that as well. Once again, good evening to you. Waris Jinadu said Nigerian military tank, the boot, the uniform, the bullet, the guns are foreign made from UK, China, US, France, to oppress the indigenous people. We'll be discussing about the Biafra tonight. Good evening to you, Mr. Frank Abiola. If you're watching me from Dublin, shout out to you. If you're watching us from Malaysia, do you know that the Nigerian passport is print from Malaysia? I'll be telling you all that as well. There's a lot to catch up tonight, and I hope we would have enough time to discuss all these as well. When we talk about petition, what do we mean? What do we understand? Atiku is not yet happy that, the election was not conducted, and likewise Peter Obi. But it seems that Bola Tinubu is saying, look, let's just, move on and forget about it. But it seems that doesn't work. Shout out to Professor Adebanji Akintoye, the leader of the Yoruba self-determination struggle. Shout out to, Chief Ayiloge. Shout out to Dr. Chief Sunday IGBOHO. Shout out to the Global Directorate. Shout out to Iba Gani Adams. Shout out to Pa Ayo Adebanjo. Shout out to everyone that is alive to witness a lot that is happening. Peter Obi, one of the candidates of the latest political party. Well, it's not a new political party. The only difference is, they had what we call a movement. So Peter Obi was a movement that literally changed the narrative that has never happened. There was a lot of Yoruba people that were scared that, Labour Party was going to take over Lagos State. And, we saw what was played out on the 18th of March. But Peter Obi have been able to change the dynamic of the election that we've never witnessed before in Nigeria. Atiku is not new to contesting election. Atiku has been around for a very, very long time. I'm talking about, Atiku. Atiku spent every 4 years in Dubai, then when election is coming, he return back home. Omoyele Sowore was also part of these elections, but it seems that not a lot of Nigerians believe in Omoyele Sowore. But Omoyele Sowore, from what we know, his political party have also, filed a petition against INEC. Good evening to you, Olakunle. Good evening, Lakeside. Good evening to you, DZ123. Maze Gold, welcome on board. Waris Jinadu, Aziz Shakiru, and shout out to all the media that are working tirelessly when it comes to the Yoruba Nation campaign. In the next 1 hour, we'll be discussing everything that's got to do with the Biafra, the indigenous people. What do we know? Who are the indigenous people? Why are people asking for Yoruba Nation, Biafra Nation, Ijo Nation? Shout out to you if you're watching on Twitter. Shout out to you, Mrs. Folake Akinyele, Tony Ages. Good evening to you, Colitech. Shout out to those of you on the MixLR. If you're listening to us in Nigeria, from the northern part of Nigeria, I say welcome to the program. We appreciate every single one of you. And welcome once again to everyone that have joined us. We couldn't have done this every Wednesday without your own participation. Good evening to you, Mr. Otumba Adekunle. Samson Adekunle says good evening to you as well. And as we always say, there is no other leader in terms of the Yoruba Nation struggle. It is one and only the emeritus Professor Adebanji Akintoye. Let me say it clearly again. As we do know and as we have been told, Dupe Onitiri is not the leader of the Yoruba Nation struggle. She has literally come into the struggle, as we have been told, as part of an agent to destabilize the movement. So if you're still having any kind of engagement with a woman called Dupe Onitiri, we have been told by the Professor Adebanji Akintoye to do away with her because she has done more damage than good to the movement known as the Yoruba Nation movement. There is not a crime when you ask for the right to self-determination. It is not a crime under the African Union. It is not a crime under the international law. It is not a crime under the United Nations. But according to what we know, that those that are still believing in Nigeria also have their right, and we must respect that right as well. But the difference is, election comes every 4 years, but there is never satisfaction. Good evening to everyone that is watching me from Benin Republic, Togo, Cote d'Ivoire, Malaysia. Wherever you are around the world in Great Britain, I say good evening and welcome. Good evening to you, Mr. David Adegoke, Akim Oluwadamilare, Boye Mayuba. Yesterday, I received a video. We'll be playing the audio where we were told that something that sounded like a bomb ended up killing 5 people. We are told by those that listen to us that it could be a dynamite. What is an average Nigerian doing with dynamite? We know that dynamite is very, very key when it comes to breaking of the rocks. But let's first talk about petition. When I use the word petition, what does it mean? It is a formal written request, typically one that is signed by many people, like the PDP, the Labour Party, and all the political parties that are taking Bola Tinubu to the election tribunal. It is an appealing to authority. So they are literally appealing to one authority in Nigeria in respect of a particular cause. The particular cause has got to do with the election of election of February 25th, which is the presidential election. Why have we continued to have election and yet it doesn't happen, it doesn't work? If you're a Yoruba person, you get to know that you will get to speak Yoruba when the time comes. But for now, because we are communicating with the international audience on the Starr Radio UK, but trust me, during the Indigenous conversation, Yoruba la ma so to ma po. But bear with us, because when we are here on the Starr Radio UK, we are connecting to the international global audience. And it is important that we let them understand that the reason why the Yoruba are asking for the right to self-determination is almost the same thing as the Igbo people and likewise the Ijaw. Petition. From what we know, Nigerian government have been served different petitions here in UK. People sign signature and then the government of the United Kingdom look into that petition. But I can say that this particular petition that I was actually telling you has got to do with a petition that occurred just after the EndSARS. We saw how the federal government of Nigeria, President Muhammadu Buhari, and the Vice President Yemi Osinbajo decided to unleash the military on innocent Nigerians on October 2020. And that led to multiple injury and the death of so many Nigerians. That also led to some Nigerians had to flee for their life that did, like somebody like DJ Switch. DJ Switch is currently out of the country where she's now living in fear. Is that the Nigeria that we want? Is that the Nigerian where you do not have access to freedom of information? Is that the Nigerian where the police continue to oppress you? Even after the EndSARS, we continue to see, like we saw in a video that was circulating on the social media. Social media is the next kind of media that communicate better than the NTA and the Lai Mohammed that continue to tell lies to the international community. There's a lot going on in Nigeria. There's a lot of oppression. There's a lot of genocide. There's a lot of killings. And when we talk about killings, it's not just about those in the southeast of Nigeria. We are talking about the El Zakizaki. El Zakizaki continue to be maltreated. We have a lot of Nigerians that are oppressed on a daily basis by individuals. And if you report them to the police, you end up becoming the victim. There was a situation in Kaduna where those that are cleaners end up working for an hotel rather than paying them their full wages for the service that have been done. They will end up being beaten by the Nigerian military. Kudos to the Nigerian military for now. They've already looked into that, but we hope the outcome is going to favor Nigerians. These are so many reasons why on the 23rd of November 2020, here in the United Kingdom, there was a petition that was done to sanction the Nigerian government and some of the officials. And the title of that petition was Implement Sanction Against Nigerian Government and Officials. The government should explore using the new sanction regime that allows individuals and the entities that violate human rights. We have talked continuously about the human right. Nnamdi Kanu human right is not respected by the federal government. Are we going to see the election tribunal doing what is meant to do to make sure that the petition that has been given out now, that has been done, where the proceeding has now been adjourned to May 17? That is almost some few more days before the inauguration. Will this petition be concluded? I was listening to Agbakoba. Agbakoba this morning is a senior advocate of Nigeria, says this petition doesn't need to last more than a week for decision to be made. Whether Tinubu continue to be the president or there will be a rerun or something needs to be done. But it seems that there might be a systematic way to make sure that the petition continues to be extended. From what we are hearing, Peter Obi backs Atiku on request for a live broadcast of proceeding as the court has now adjourned the petition to another 7 days from today. This is the latest coming from Abuja. Once again, this is Starr Radio UK. It is the finest African and Caribbean radio station in London. And this is how we do it every Wednesday, where we talk about the current situation that is happening in Nigeria. This is Starr Radio. Good evening to you once again, to those of you that are listening to us on all the platforms. My name is OLAMILEKAN, and I'd like to welcome you to Starr Radio UK, the finest African and Caribbean radio station in London. If you have an advert and you'd like us to run through the advert for you, do get in touch with the producer and be rest assured that your advert will be going to every part that you want it to go to. But for now, if you're joining me for the very, very first time, this is how we do it. And once again, this is the Starr Radio UK that runs 24/7, 7 days a week. Once again, this is Starr Radio. Let's go back quickly again to the petition. It seems that the Peter Obi is backing Atiku that the petition should be live broadcast. The Labour Party and its presidential candidate, Mr. Peter Obi, have thrown their support to the request by the People's Democratic Party, PDP, and its presidential candidate, Alhaji Atiku Abubakar, for a live broadcasting of the proceeding of the presidential election petition court sitting in Abuja. Do you think that is going to happen? Do you think that that is going to be the way forward? MEDP says Mazi Nnamdi Kanu is still in the dungeon of Nigeria. He needs not to be separated, free him for now. I know that Nnamdi Kanu court case is going again tomorrow, and we're going to be monitoring that. But like I said, at about another almost less than an hour from now, we'll be discussing about Nnamdi Kanu, the Biafra, the government of exile. I've been seeing a lot of movement, when the government exile of Biafra is currently getting their office ready at their headquarters in the United States of America. And like I said, at some time, we will try to get, those behind the government of exile of the new prime minister representing the Biafra government in exile, right now as well. So, counsel to Labour Party and its presidential candidate, Dr. Levi Ozoku, senior advocate of Nigeria, made these known on Wednesday today while speaking with the newsmen after the court had adjourned the pre-hearing section in their petition challenging the election of the presidential candidate of the All Progressive Congress APC, Bola Tinubu. We do know that that has been now, the proceeding has been adjourned to 17th of May, which is 7 days from now. Do you think that there will be a solution? Do you think that we will get the outcome? Do you think that Nigerians will be satisfied after the election tribunal? Because the election tribunal will be the final part. I don't know whether they might have to go to the Supreme Court, but for now, we know that Adeleke in Osun State has now been confirmed by the Supreme Court that he is the authentic governor of Osun State. That is the PDP. Do you think that if Bola Tinubu is still asked to remain as the president, do you think that Atiku will congratulate him? Do you think that Peter Obi will congratulate him? This is left to Nigerians to decide. But one thing is, I as a person do not believe that Nigeria is working anymore. And I as a person believe that the Yoruba people are better off to have their own sovereign nation. And we can do better. Just as Bulgaria is doing better, Bulgaria is less than 7 million. And as I speak to you today, Bulgaria remains one of the best, country for ICT. It is not how big it is how small that can look after our people and make sure that we have the right to the right to freedom of speech and so many things as well. Once again, Madipi's Wayo Wayo arrangement in Padi Padi, Nigeria is a one-way, one answer you get. And I believe that is one of Bella music as well. God Last Brown, good evening to you. Samson Adekunle, a very, very good evening to you. Mrs. Esther, and she already told me she's from Igogun, so I will always remember that as well. I was in Igogun around 2017 and 2018 as well. Once again, Mrs. Grace Olushota, very beautiful evening to you as well. And thank you so much to all the GR1 team as well. So let us continue to as much as the Yoruba want to exit from Nigeria, we must also respect the Nigerians, the Yoruba, and those are the Igbos that do not want to break away from Nigeria. But as a person, I do not think Nigeria can sustain another 63 years. Keep your comment coming. Waris Jinodu say, if Yoruba was the president, he will probably end up like the way Pakistan disrespected Imran Khan by the military junta. And I've been following that. If you're not aware of what is going on in Pakistan, Imran Khan was a Pakistan cricket, and he ended up becoming the president or the prime minister. And today is now being held by the same military that controls Pakistan. Nigeria is dead because the land without a foundation is dead. We want freedom as human. That is coming from Madi Peace. Keep the comment coming. And if you're listening to us on the Star Radio UK as well, keep the comment rolling. I'll be reading as many of that as well. My name again is FOLAYEMI Koiki. And I say good evening and welcome to the live transmission. Let's come back to this petition. Bola Tinubu has flew out of Nigeria, but it seems that he's not going for medical treatment from what we are being told. So we have to go with what they are saying, even though yesterday when the news came out that Bola Tinubu will be traveling out of Nigeria again, it was for medical purpose. But his team has actually said that that is not the case. Breaking, UK Court of Appeal has now fixed a date to hear Nnamdi Kanu's extraordinary rendition appeal. That is going to be an interesting one, especially knowing that Nnamdi Kanu holds a British passport, traveled to Kenya, but he was kidnapped by President Muhammadu Buhari and the Vice President Yemi Osinbajo for no other reason than the fact that Nnamdi Kanu does not believe in Nigeria. Nnamdi Kanu was not given the process in Kenya. Rather, they thought that in 2023, they can just kidnap him and rendition. So the UK Court of Appeal has now fixed June 22, 2023 to hear the appeal of the detained leader of the indigenous people of Biafra, IPOB, Mazi Nnamdi Kanu, for extraordinary rendition. This is coming from the counsel to Kanu, Mr. Aloy Ejimako. I do know that Nnamdi Kanu's case is coming up as well tomorrow, Thursday, the 11th day of May 2023. Shout out to you, Aziz Shakiru, and once again to everyone that have joined us. I wish you that you would also not witness the bad side of Nigeria. Imagine if your own son or daughter was traveling with a British passport or an American passport or an Ethiopian passport or a passport that is different from Nigeria, and they end up in Nigeria without the due process. How do you feel? How do you react? Because some Yoruba people or some Nigerians are saying that that is all to do, with Nnamdi Kanu, because he is fighting to destroy or break down Nigeria. Does that mean that, the rule of law should not abide? The President Muhammadu Buhari did not allow the rule of law for Nnamdi Kanu, and that is why the court proceeding will be happening here June 22, and we'll be monitoring that as well. But for now, we are discussing what it means when it comes to petition to Nigerian government. Do you think that the election tribunal would make any difference? For those of you that believe in Nigeria, I would like to read some of your comments. Keep those comments coming and let's hear from you. Because what we understand is that, Nigeria as it stands right now, election, good evening to you, Comrade Plan B. And Comrade Plan B went on to say, we won't back down until we win. A wonderful evening to you as well, to those of you that have joined us. Keep the comment coming and be rest assured we will be reading a lot of your comment that is coming through. Without corruption as people, Nigerians, where is the togetherness to achieve and succeed our faith, liberty, and freedom? Without corruption as people. Waris Jinodu says, make no difference with the 1999 military constitution, be it BAT, PDP, Labour Party would not be a runner-up. Let's come back again. Now that these petition proceedings have started, but how is it going to be convenient? For instance, he said the courtroom cannot conveniently accommodate 200 people and 200 people cannot adequately represent Nigerians, adding that if the proceedings are broadcast live, Nigeria will be better informed. Do you think that that is the best way? Boye, Mayugbe, righteousness, truth, humanity, and what have you are dead in this zoo called Nigeria. James Kerfi, good evening to you. And Ayinde Usman, Kayode, Abdul Karim, Alaji Adetunji, Abiola, good evening to you. Olashupo, Abisola, and Oluwagbemiga, welcome to every one of you. This is once again Starr Radio UK, and every Wednesday, this is how we do it. So, now that this petition is going on, do you think that there will be a final conclusion before May 29? Why is Bola Tinubu running again to Europe? The media aide to Bola Tinubu is telling us that Tinubu is only traveling outside the country, not for medical reason, but for a Europe. Okay, let me take that again. According to the office of the president-elect, confirms the Sahara Reporter story that announces Tinubu's departure for Europe on a working visit to cover up for his medical treatment. President Buhari is still in London. President-elect is traveling out, even though he's saying that I'm not going for medical treatment, I'm just going for, working visit. President-elect Bola Tinubu has left Nigeria for Europe, as it has been earlier reported by Sahara reporters. However, a statement by Tunde Rahman from the office of the president-elect, which confirmed this on Wednesday, today the 10th of May 2023, said Tinubu left for Europe on a working visit. Meanwhile, they claim that the trip to Europe is a working visit is a cover-up, as a source had told Sahara reporters that Tinubu was returning to France to see his doctor. Are we going to see Tinubu in Europe doing these meetings and engagement, or is he going to be going to Europe where he is shielded behind the curtain somewhere receiving medical treatment? How did we get to where the president incoming is also now taking medical trip, where the previous president-elect, the president currently right there now, President Muhammadu Buhari, is in London, according to his media aide as well, for tooth issue. Buhari is not going to return to Nigeria in another 1 week. According to the statement that was issued today, Tinubu will use the opportunity of the trip to fine-tune the transition plans and programs and his policy option with some of his key aides without unnecessary pressure and distraction. Are we now saying that Tinubu is being distracted in Abuja, where he has been for this couple of days, according to the military that have moved him to the military defense building? So does it mean that Tinubu cannot have a proper meeting in Nigeria until he travels to, we don't know, we know that he's going to France, but he says he's going there for his policy engagement. It is also said during the visit, the president-elect will engage with investors and other key allies with the goal of marketing investment. And I hope this is not Shagori, because we know that the Shagori are criminals that have not just taken so much out of Nigeria, they are also been supporting Bola Tinubu as far back as when Bola Tinubu was the governor. And the Shagori owns the the Lekki. I'm going to get that quickly. If you do not know who the Shagori, I'm going to give you a little bit of their background. They are Gilbert Shagori, they are Lebanese, and they have a high influence in Nigeria. They have a lot of connection in Nigeria, and they have been also connected to so many criminal activities, according to report that we have. Gilbert Shagori is a Nigerian billionaire, businessman, diplomat, and also a philanthropist who lives in Paris, and information already told us that he is part of those funding Tinubu treatment in Paris. So the question is, they own the hotel. They also have a lot of, Shagori Group is a Nigerian multinational business conglomerate headquarters in Lagos State. It was founded in 1971. They had a very good relationship with the late Sani Abacha. Shagori returned $60 million to the Nigerian government, knowing that, this was a corrupt money but he actually said he never knew that the money was a corruption money. So the question is, as the election tribunal is still ongoing, Tinubu doesn't have to be on the ground. All he needs is his legal team and some of the other governors representing as well. Yes, Shagorish owns the Eco Hotel. Thank you, the Eco Atlantic. Thank you so much, Mr. Shegun. Honor, the comrade there. That was the name I was actually looking for. And we do know that Bola Tinubu, the president-elect, if things goes as planned, I've already seen the invitation letter is already in circulation. So that letter, I mean, the IV for his inauguration is already out. But Bola Tinubu himself is out of the country. We are told that he's going to return in time before May 29. As we're just about 15 minutes before we have a closure on this, I am now putting it out to every Nigerian, and I'm going to be reading some of the comments from Twitter, what Nigerians are saying with this current tribunal petition that is going on in Nigeria. This is Starr Radio UK. It is the finest African and Caribbean radio station in London. Over the weekend, I visited, Sheikh Tinubu's property here in UK, worth $11 million. The same property was confiscated by Buhari from Aluko and Dezeni. The money that was used to buy that property is a proceed of, crime, because these are the money that is meant to be used for Nigerians through the sales. So let's quickly catch up with Twitter to see what Nigerians are saying when it comes to president-elect is trending, adjournment is trending, and likewise we know, I'm not sure why Oba of Lagos is trending. Maybe we should check that. I hope there's nothing wrong with Oba of Lagos. Once again, a very good evening. Well, probably not much. So I will just move on swiftly with that. Let's talk about the election tribunal. What are Nigerians saying? What is the reaction of Nigerians, especially those that have faith in Nigeria? Because someone like me do not have faith in Nigeria, because Nigeria has failed a lot of the indigenous people. Election tribunal. What do we know? How do we solve this current situation in Nigeria, especially as so many Nigerians continue to ask for the way out? Abuja is a very busy place tomorrow, as Nnamdi Kanu. I'm not sure whether Nnamdi Kanu is going to be appearing himself, but what I do know, there's a breaking news: EFCC arrests the sale Mama ex-power minister over 22 billion naira fraud. Mama, who was minister under President Muhammadu Buhari from 2019 to 2021, was arrested in the early hours of Wednesday and is being detained at the headquarters of the anti-graft agency. When we talk about corruption, please, Buhari was one of the most corrupt government that we've ever witnessed, and it seems that, as he doesn't care, Nigerians must now ask the question, 8 years of President Buhari, what can we say? So let's look back again and look at the election tribunal and see the reaction from Nigerians, in part of the country and outside the country as well. There are so many Nigerians that are still bitter that the election did not go their favor. Let me first talk about, Femi Fani-Kayode. He eat from both sides. The most balanced rigging that took place in the last election was the senatorial election in the FCT. I live in Abuja for 22 years. To say that Ireti Kinjigbe, the Labour Party candidate, won the election is a joke, or will be exposed at the election tribunal and justice. So it seems that, there's a lot going to happen, but are we going to get a final closure with this election tribunal taking place in Abuja? Once again, this is Starr Radio UK. It is the finest African and Caribbean radio station in London. DZ123 say, build back a better, best outcome for all the Yoruba nation now, freedom and prosperity. Medipi say, Buhari come for fire damage. Samson Adekule says, Iropo, Nigerian government. Nigeria is a cemetery that is coming. Keep your comment coming, and I'm going to be reading that as well. Asha Tishe Le Yoruba say, Ekwe to Baba. Good evening to you, our mother, Ajoke Abiodun Steve, and the rest of you that are listening to us on all the platforms. My name again is OLAMILEKAN, and this is the finest African and Caribbean radio station in London. And every Wednesday, I am here to discuss the current affairs in Nigeria. And like I said, we also discuss issues affecting the indigenous people and those that are asking for the right to self-determination. Do you know that you can? That is part of the way you can listen to Star Radio UK. But once again, I do ask and say,
Star Radio UK. This is Star Radio UK. In your car, at home, on your smartphone. Broadcasting worldwide online 24/7. Broadcasting worldwide online 24/7. In your car, at home, on your smartphone. The best radio show. The best radio show. The best radio show. Broadcasting worldwide online 24/7.
well, every Wednesday, Latif Olamide says, Iropo is Nigeria. And that is why some of us have said, enough of Nigeria. It is time that our politicians come onto the round table. So I'm just going to read some of the comments. There's always those that still support APC. There are those that support PDP. And there are those that support Labour Party. So we kind of balance the conversation. Even though as Yoruba man, I do not believe in Bola Tinubu. Neither do I believe in Atiku or Peter Obi. I want the Yoruba to have their own independent nation, just as it was before the British destroyed everything called Yoruba Kingdom. Let's look at what at Morris_Moyi. This was about 2 days ago. We have started the session of the session of the Presidential Election Tribunal at the Court of Appeal. Everyone is now seated. I suspect it will be a day for dropping evidence, witnesses, and all that. The main action may be later in the week. So let's read some of the comment underneath. According to him, I know he's a member of the Labour Party. I could tell because I was following him during the election that just took place. Labour Party petition will be heard today. It is petition number 3. 3 parties will be heard today. AAA, APP, Labour Party. AAA may withdraw theirs. PDP will be heard tomorrow. Then the fireworks continue. So now let's read some of the, what Nigerians are saying. This one is talking about GT, help me, you have taken my money. This one is saying Access Bank, help. Why do Nigerians love to put comment under some of this kind of information? I don't know. I try to find out, but sometimes it could be very difficult. So, freaking Bar says, incoming tears from our Amala brothers and sisters with an emoji of smile. Omobolaji Abdullah says, good evening. And Dr. Benjamin says, Bulgaria is a small but mighty. I did a full program, Dr. Benjamin. I don't know whether you've been able to watch it. Bulgaria is just one country that I would love to live because when it comes to technology, they are literally up there. Ordinary girl say, may they not rush to adjourn, but they've actually adjourned it to 17. Simon Ezima say, no live coverage. Messi is asking the same question I am asking. Will decision drop before May 29? I beg. So these are some of the Nigerians responding to the election tribunal. So let's look at it from another angle as well. According to one of the mainstream media says pictures from the presidential election. This was 2 days ago, and let's see some of the comments as well. I don't already position my pen and paper to write down some English way I never hear before. I just hope I can be able to find their meanings in my dictionary. E go hot. Make person no pretend to be sick just to run and go hide in France. And this was 2 days ago. So it seems that Better with no name at Street KYNQ probably was seeing the vision that Bola Tinubu, in another 2 days from May 8th, when he was posting this on Twitter, will be running back to Paris. Why is Bola Tinubu not in Nigeria? He's saying that he has to be outside the country so that he can discuss with the investors and, I'll be playing an audio from Ijaya during the Yoruba Nation conversation on the Biafra within the next 8 minutes. Once again, shout out to my producer, Mr. Frank David, and also Mr. Archie. If you have any conversation you want us to listen to or you want us to discuss, Nigerians in Libya are complaining, and we are telling Abike Dabiri to please look into Nigerians in Libya. Especially, we have some of our brothers and sisters that have been in the prison for more than 2 years. Let me look at some of the response again from the Twitter, according to at Enu Esiki Samuel, and these were 2 days ago, May 8th precisely. If there's one thing I like about Nigeria, it is the fact that whenever there is a court case involving a prominent person, the court is always filled with lawyers for both the accused and defendant, and there's often no room for the public. Even the press would have to struggle to get in. And I think that is true. Whenever there's a court case that has to do with somebody very, very important, highly important, it is always back to back. I'll take 2 more, then we'll come back out of that and then, find out to the last 7 minutes of this petition before we move to the next conversation. There's a lot to discuss. Law is such a beautiful profession. I would love to be a lawyer. How many people want to be a lawyer? How many of you would love to be a lawyer and then you can represent the Yoruba nation at the United Nations, at the ECOWAS, at the African Union? Otumba Adekunle with the emoji sign. Hey, 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 hey. Thank you so much. Keep the comment coming. Latif Olamide says, Adelaja, Yoruba nation, no going back. Comrade Plan B says, 20 billion under Mr. Integrity administration. Shame on Buhari. It seems that President Buhari doesn't believe in the Nigerian healthcare, and that is why he's doing that in London. Medipi says, none of them have the souls. No more, they have no feelings for humanity. Nnamdi Kanu has been kept for almost 2 years, and it seems that the British court is now going to be looking at that, and we'll be discussing more about that. DZ123 end up to say, new idea to celebrate the culture of the Yoruba is to have the Yoruba town in the UK and global. And you're quite right, DZ123. Over the weekend, when I was in central London, it was beautiful, it was magnificent. People travel from different parts of the world to witness this occasion of the coronation. But when I got to Chinatown, it was beautiful. It was eccentric. You could feel the energy. You could see their culture. You could see their statues in front of their restaurant. And if it was a Yoruba restaurant, we must love. God Last Brown said that is the fake Buhari. Buhari says that is not the fake Buhari. I am the real Buhari. But God Last Brown said that is the fake Buhari. Keep the comment coming. Toba Lashe Aibayomi. Shout out to you. Alafa Adeleke. Good evening to you. And good evening once again to everyone. Buhari did not say, I want to be a lawyer representing, but with no British white wig and the dark robe blessings. Wow, interesting. Keep the comment coming. I think Eze Chukwumeka on Twitter. Good evening to you. Like I said, in the next 5 minutes, I'm going to try and get in touch with the Prime Minister, government in exile of the Biafra, and we see if they can give us somebody to come and talk to us, maybe for next week, to discuss about the government in exile. What does it mean, and all that. And like I said, I've been seeing a lot of the pictures from their office, and 2 hours ago, the Prime Minister in government of exile of the Biafra also posted. The question now is to have the terrorist state of Nigeria stop the bombing in Biafra territory. In 2023, they are still dropping bombs in Imo State. If you want peace, let Biafra go in 2023. So what an interesting time to be alive. Adewale, good evening to you. Wasiu Taiwo, good evening to you, and welcome to the live transmission. So as we are moving slightly away from the election tribunal, I'm just going to give you some of the headline quickly of what is being said here as well. Tobalashe says, thumbs up, Mr. Koiki on the Star Radio UK. I said, thumbs up. According to some of the headline that I have here, because at that 7 o'clock, which is 1900 hours, I'll be taking you through the Biafra Indigenous. Hunger, 4.3 million Adamawa, Borno, Yobe people need 396 million from 396 million according to the United Nations. 4.3 million people from Adamawa, Borno State, Yobe State will need 396 million. This is just a chicken chain from some of the money that have been stolen out of Nigeria. Tinubu travels to Europe to fine-tune plans for his administration. There was an explosion at the Abuja Air Force Base. Fuel dump as facility catches fire. Why is this happening just 19 days before the inauguration? Why is fire catching the Abuja Air Force? Is this intentionally? Is this something that got to do with health and safety? Or is this just something that we don't know? 19 days, Nigerians will know what is about to happen. Nigerian army are capable of containing terrorism. Hey, this one are Fabu. This headline are Fabu. Nigerian army are capable of containing terrorism. Who believe that? Nadi please say, put Nigerian propaganda and their manipulators to where they belong. This headline says, Nigerian army are capable of containing terrorism according to COAS. How many people believe that? Okay. How green hydrogen can help rectify Nigerian persistent energy poverty. A lot of Nigerians are living in darkness. Aisha Buhari takes incoming First Lady Tinubu on a presidential villa tour. Wow! So it's already happening. Wow, wow, wow. What an interesting time to be alive. So Aisha Buhari will probably reside in Abuja. No, that's Abuja. No. Aisha Buhari, Lateef Olamide say, Iropo. Otumba Adekunle say, respect to the dragon Odogua, the Prime Minister Simon Ekpa. And like I said, I will reach out to him so that they can give us somebody to speak to us sometime next week on the Star Radio UK. Bishop Adesina will also be speaking to us very soon as well to discuss the postcode of the Yoruba people in the Yoruba territory. So Aisha Buhari have taken Bola Tinubu's wife around the tour of the presidential. Then Aisha Buhari will probably now be free and return back to her base in Dubai, where she has been living for whatever reason. The 10th National Assembly Senate Southwest Governor Taku Tinubu reject APC zoning formula. Hey, they started with this 10th NAS Southwest Governor Taku Tinubu. Are they the only one that voted Tinubu? They should remember that they are not the only one. Court has now barred the NBC from fining TV and radio station. Lawan Iwai Mamia, good evening to you. God bless Yoruba Nation is coming from Lateef Olamide. Mr. Clement said he's a criminal, a known drug baron, fleeing from and avoiding justice and lacks no legal power in the first place. And you are quite right. As much as a lot of Yoruba people do not want us to talk about Tinubu as a drug baron, but we must continue to talk about it because it is in the record and it's somewhere in America. And you can go and check that if you want to verify that. That money that has to do with drug went into the account of Bola Tinubu. Probably he never knew he would be president one day, and he was thinking as an accountant, let me allow this money to pass through, and I can then, but eventually, almost some years back, that is now fighting back. And that is why we have to be very, very careful whether you live in Nigeria, whether you live outside Nigeria, because one day will be one day, things that you've done in the past will catch up on you. They say, karma will always catch up. So, and Samson Adekunle say, Yoruba Nation not going back, 200 million Nigerians cannot stop Yoruba Nation. So let's take more of the headline and then we start discussing about the Biafra and the Yoruba Nation struggle. Absence of Obanikoro stalls the ex-governor Fayose fraud trial. Iropo. Nasarawa Assembly passes bill to promote justice and peace. When I hear justice and peace, it's like my body keeps shaking. You know, it is easy for them to say this, but we all know that it's all lies. Mr. Taiwo Akane is actually watching us directly from the Star Radio page, and we cannot love you more. We can love you double time. When they talk about this, you will always be worried. So now let's leave these other part and then come back. These are the faces of these are the individuals that will make or mark whatever is going to happen with the election tribunal. So look at those faces. These will change things as we know. Let's talk about Dr. Oloye Sunday IGBOHO and the President Muhammadu Buhari. Then we're going to move and discuss about Nnamdi Kanu and likewise President Muhammadu Buhari. But before I do that, let's quickly talk about the Ike Ikerimadu. Last week Friday, finally, Ike Ikerimadu had now been sentenced with the wife here in the United Kingdom. So Ike Ikerimadu is not returning back to Nigeria anytime soon. He will be here with us while he continues to serve his sentence for the case that he has now been found guilty. Do you think that these would have happened in Nigeria? Should Ike Ikerimadu was in Nigeria, do you think that Ike Ikerimadu case would have been concluded and Ike Ikerimadu would have been sentenced? Ike Ikerimadu would be serving prison if this was in Nigeria, or he would probably have got away with it, just as so many of them have done so in the past. This is what we are saying, that to Nigerians, the rule of law is not just for the rich, it's also for the poor and the middle class. As we say, if you cannot serve the time, don't commit the crime. According to the UK law, Ike Ikerimadu has now been found guilty with his wife for committing crime that's got to do with slavery, which has been abolished according to the British law. And if you're going to take somebody's kidney, well, it has to be done properly, not by trying to do it through the back door. So Ike Ikerimadu cannot deny this because there was quite a lot of evidence that was presented to the court that end up giving us the outcome that we have today. So, as we say, if you do not want to be sentenced to the prison here in UK, do not commit the crime. And that is about that. Before we move further of Dr. Chief Sunday IGBOHO, let's remind ourselves that Nnamdi Kanu, as we know, the leader of the Biafra, is still held in the custody of the DSS. Nnamdi Kanu is not a criminal. Nnamdi Kanu has not committed any crime against humanity, apart from the fact that Nnamdi Kanu wants freedom for the Biafra. And he has said it continuously, we do not have to fight each other. Allow a referendum to be held, and if that referendum failed, he would abandon Project Biafra. But today, it seems that the federal government of Nigeria is still not bowing down to the situation that Nnamdi Kanu, according to the international law, that has not committed any crime, cannot be held incommunicado. And as we continue to say, the health of Nnamdi Kanu is still something that we are concerned about. So let me give you some of the latest news that we have about the leader of the Biafra according to the UK court. The UK court grants Nnamdi Kanu permission to appeal judgment in favor of the Foreign and Commonwealth Office here in the United Kingdom. The leader of the Indigenous people of Biafra, IGBOHO, Nnamdi Kanu, has been granted permission to appeal the High Court judgment that found that the Foreign, Commonwealth and Development Office, also known as the FCDO, could lawfully evade reaching any conclusion on whether he had been tortured, subjected to extraordinary rendition, and arbitrarily detained. According to the UK Senior Court of Appeal Judge Lord Justice Lewis, who granted the permission, said the appeal will be given expedited hearing. Kanu's family has sued the FCDO, the Foreign Commonwealth and Development Office here in UK, for negligence of duty over Mazi Nnamdi Kanu's ordeal, who thought a British citizen was abducted and Kenya extradited to Nigeria and has remained in detention illegally since 2021. The case, according to Mazi Nnamdi Kanu's legal team, has major implications for all British citizens mistreated abroad who may look for the UK for help. Since his detention, Mazi Nnamdi Kanu's family has been asking the British government to take steps to secure his release on the ground that there was no lawful basis for extraditing him. However, the Foreign Secretary has till date failed to reach any firm view on whether or not the IPOB leader was subjected to extraordinary rendition. The Foreign Secretary claims only a provisional view is possible despite the mass of evidence and views of the United Nations and the Nigerian Court of Appeal. The family legal team brought the challenge on the basis that the reaching a firm concluded view is necessary to lawfully determine what steps should be taken to assist Mazi Nnamdi Kanu. But the British court had an unconventional ruling last 2 months, March precisely, dismissed the Kanu's family claim for judicial review of the failure of the British government to reach a firm view on Kanu's rendition. The court, presided over by Justice Swift, however, observed that Mazi Nnamdi Kanu was subject to rendition, but disappointedly held that he had no legitimate expectation that the British government should reach a firm view for itself on what had occurred. Meanwhile, Mazi Nnamdi Kanu's legal team described the High Court ruling as extremely difficult to reconcile with the long-standing legal precedent and the principle underpinning it that the British citizen can expect protection from their national government. Dissatisfied with the High Court ruling, Mazi Nnamdi Kanu's family applied to the Court of Appeal for permission to appeal the High Court ruling on the following ground. The court read in finding that Mazi Nnamdi Kanu's family did not have the legitimate expectation that the Foreign and the Commonwealth Development Office would form a firm view as to whether Mazi Nnamdi Kanu has been the victim of extraordinary rendition in violation of international law. The court erred in finding the Foreign and the Commonwealth Development Office decision not to reach a firm view was not irrational. The court erred in finding that Foreign and Commonwealth Development Office, also known as FCDO, is not obliged to comply with the procedural firmness standards when considering risk of the British citizen as a serious risk abroad. Let's remind our listeners that Nnamdi Kanu holds a British passport, as at the time the Nigerian government of President Muhammadu Buhari and the Vice President Yemi Osinbajo, a lawyer that should know better, decided that in 2023, 21st century, you can just kidnap an individual even if he was not a British citizen. That should have gone through a proper legal system. Let's continue. Meanwhile, in granting permission to Mazi Nnamdi Kanu's family to appeal the judgment, Justice Lewis noted that the grounds of appeal raise important issues concerning the scope of the obligations on the respondent in relation to requests for consular assistance in respect of the British nationals detained abroad and the proper interpretation and the application of the decision of the Court of Appeal in R. Abisa versus the Secretary of State. So let me explain that. It's not the first time that individuals have been stuck as now asking, the Secretary of State in UK to look into it. So according to another case, which is known as Abis versus the Secretary of State, I can give you a background Let's see if we can find a background to that situation. But what we know is Nnamdi Kanu fighting today is not the first person that is asking the Secretary of State. So let's go back to Abisa versus the Foreign Secretary in 2002. The key point that I want us to take note, in exceptional circumstances, the court would review the exercise of the prerogative power relating to the field of the foreign affairs and discussing the one of Ababis versus the Foreign Secretary, which is the argument that the lawyer to Nnamdi Kanu are also putting out there. In exercising the prerogative powers in the field of foreign affairs, it is for the executive to exercise its discretion in weighing and balancing competing factors. However, in doing so, it must have account of all relevant consideration. Why is the British Embassy not doing enough to get Nnamdi Kanu out of Nigeria as quickly as possible, but they've actually abandoned him there? This is something that has occurred before in 2002 between Abbasi versus the Foreign Secretary. Let's take a little bit more. Mr. Abbasi was a British national who was detained by the US in Guantanamo Bay. Abbasi argued that he was being subject to arbitrary detention in violation of the Abbas Court and the sought by the judicial review, and is now compelling the British Foreign Office to either make representation on his behalf to the US government or at least explain why they had to take no action in relation to his case. So when they look at the case of Nnamdi Kanu, and this we need to be very careful, especially the Nigerians that are living in UK. If you are not concerned about the case of Nnamdi Kanu, one day your own children will travel out of UK. They might be in Indonesia, they might be in Malaysia, they could be anywhere. And if they get picked up, it might not be Nigeria, it could be another country, and they are taken away, then this would be something that you would then have to question. Let us continue to tell the British government to intervene or give us the reason why they are not going to intervene when it comes to the case of Nnamdi Kanu. Is it because in Nnamdi Kanu's case, as we know, he is fighting, the right to self-determination, and the British government does not, want such to happen. But in regard to that, as long as Nnamdi Kanu is holding that British passport, it is the responsibility of the British government to give him a representation or at least explain, just as Mr. Abbas was saying. Let's complete the fact of Mr. Abbas. We don't have to go into the details, but this was the argument that the lawyers of Nnamdi Kanu has projected to the appeal that is now coming up on June 22. After this, we'll be discussing more about the government of exile that we find out, from Simon Ekpa, like I said. Next week, we'll see if we can get somebody to come and discuss with us. And then we'll be discussing about Dr. Sunday IGBOHO and the federal government of Nigeria. Why they had no action in relation to his case. One of the obstacles, I'm still discussing the case of Mr. Abbasi, in British national that was detained by the US in Guantanamo Bay. One of the obstacles to the argument being made by the applicant, which is Mr. Abbasi, was that the exercise of prerogative powers in the field of foreign affairs was not justifiable by the reference to Lord Rossik excluded categories as stated in the GCQ. We know that there's a lot of relationship between countries to country. Britain is not new. Good evening to you, my brother, all the way in Paris, Mr. Afoba JB. I know some of your comment has been coming very fast. Let's see if we can catch up on them. Madipi say Nigerians, when they will live a life of surety, when I cry. Samson say, I love my Yoruba people. I love Oloyemo, Adeyemo, Majasola, Desha, Sunday IGBOHO Sha, Imole Yoruba Nation. I love our father, Professor Adebanjo Akintoye. Warijino to say, yes, Guantanamo. Warijino to say, never carry a location 419 passport. Mahdi Peace also went on to say, I was the one who said, Nnamdi Kanu alone is Biafra. Wow. and that is a very, very powerful one as well. Thank you so much, Maddy Peace. Keep the comment coming, and I'll be reading them out. And I say good evening as well. As we say all the time, if you are joining us for the first time on this platform, this is called Starr Radio UK. We discuss everything that's got to do, with Nigeria and the current affairs. We discuss the Yoruba nation, the Biafra nation, and we discuss those that still believe in Nigeria. We are originally say no refuge, no rescue, e.g. Sudan. Good evening to you, our mother, Mrs. Doyin Seriki, Babawa John Ogundele. Good evening, Adisa Akin Ogunride Olalekan. Like I said, when we discuss the Yoruba nation conversation, I'll be speaking in that Yoruba language, but we'll try to translate to all our listeners. I am still discussing in Nnamdi Kanu, so let's come back. Now that we have a background of the application of a decision, and this is why law is very, very good. Let's take a little bit of water there. The beauty of law is that you can use a case that has happened in the past and then use that case to fight a case. And this is exactly reference to Abbasi that was detained at Guantanamo Bay, a British citizen, as we do know that Nnamdi Kanu, a British citizen, currently detained by the DSS. Citing the urgency arising from the continued detention of Nnamdi Kanu in a solitary confinement, the court ordered that the hearing in the appeal be expedited. In response, Mr. Kanu's family expressed delight over the permission of the court to appeal the controversial High Court judgment. Kingsley Kanu, who spoke for the family, said, my family is delighted that the Court of Appeal has unhesitatingly recognized the importance and urgency of Nnamdi Kanu's case and has hope in our heart that will be reflected at the hearing and his judgment in due course. Meanwhile, the hearing for the appeal has been slated for Thursday, 22nd of June, 2023. Kanu has remained in detention at the Abuja headquarters of the Department of the State Service (DSS) since his extraordinary rendition from Kenya in June 2021. So by next month, it will be 2 years. That is a very long time, and we hope there will be a closure to the situation between federal government and likewise Nnamdi Kanu. That has not ended the Biafra struggle. That does not mean that the Biafra struggle has ended, even if Nnamdi Kanu. Now let's talk about Nnamdi Kanu as President Buhari is winding down in the next 19 days. Do you think that President Muhammadu Buhari will release Nnamdi Kanu? Do you think so? May 29 is a sit-at-home, according to the Prime Minister of the Biafra Republic, government in exile, Simon Ekpa. I'll be telling you a little bit about that. Do you think that President Muhammadu Buhari, for the peace to reign in Nigeria, will release Nnamdi Kanu? Do you think so? I assume as Nnamdi Kanu renounced Nigerian passport and dual British Nigerian citizenship. Yes, from what we are told, Nnamdi Kanu has already denounced renounced his Nigerian citizenship. But Ijaya General, we're going to be playing your audio like I did promise my listener. I've listened to it during the Yoruba conversation in 10 minutes. Then we will be discussing that. Then the last half an hour, we'll just be discussing everything. So let's first listen to the Prime Minister, government in exile of the Biafra.
So we have a very special announcement this evening. The office of the Prime Minister of the Biafra Republic of Exile request to exit Nigeria this year as we have intensified our diplomatic war in the international level, and then also as we have intensified our quest to Biafra exit with very strong reasons and genuinely fighting for a genuine cause. I want everybody to listen to the following. And put this stage and save it in your calendar. Biafran people that the swearing in of the new elected Muslim president, Islamic State president, will not be allowed in Biafra land. There is not going to be any activity of any government, both the state, local government, or whatever. Call it, so long as you find yourself in Biafra land, there will be no activity of any government, any governor in any state within the Biafra territory. So that is it. On the 29th of May 2023, there will be lockdown, total lockdown in Biafra territory. Before then, from the 28th, which is on Sunday, there is going to be coffee. Coffee will be from the 6 p.m. to 30th of May, 12 a.m. So we're going to start the lockdown of Biafra land from 6 p.m. on Sunday, the 28th. There will be no movement of anything anywhere within the Biafra territory. It is a way to register our rejection and make sure that whoever that is being swearing in Abuja on the 29th of May have no jurisdiction, have no right, will not be validated, will not be accepted in Biafra territory. So from the 28th of May, from 6 p.m. in the evening on Sunday, the curfew will start. The curfew will start for that one night. The curfew will start from 6 p.m. and 6 a.m. And then the sit at home start from the morning till the 30th day of the 30th day of May 2023. So we are going to have sit at home on the 29th to reject the Nigeria and the swearing in, whatever ceremony they are doing. We're going to sit at home on the 29th and on the 30th of May to also remember the fallen heroes of Biafra. The 30th of May, sit at home for 2 days, 29th and 30th of May 2023. Want this particular information to go around the Biafra land that the Prime Minister of the Biafra Republic government in exile is informing the Biafra people that we have taken the fight for the liberation of Biafra to the highest level. We are now in diplomatic puzzle in the international community to make sure that we call the attention of those who have something to do with making sure that either the referendum is supported for the Biafra people or we go out to try for the liberation of Biafra. And every decision we make today, and every step we take today, will be recorded and attention will be paid to it. So I want to inform the Biafra today that the 29th, the 30th of May, these 2 days, will be a complete lockdown.
And that is coming from the Prime Minister government in exile of the Biafra, that the 29th and the 30th will be a total lockdown. We have 5 more minutes to discuss about the Biafra, and then we will be discussing about everything that's got to do with the Yoruba nation conversation. And that will take us to about 8 o'clock. And at about 8 o'clock, we will start looking into some of the other news, that is happening, the other discussion and some of the other headlines from the paper coming out of Nigeria. So in 5 minutes, I'm going to sọ̀rọ̀ Yoruba nation. That if you're not a Yoruba speaking person, at about 7:30, this is a sponsor program, and it's going to come in full Yoruba language at 7:30, where we'll be discussing what you need to know when it comes to Yoruba nation. So, ẹ farabalẹ̀, in just 4 minutes. Again, we've discussed in details the letter of the Court of Appeal. We've just talked about that. The Biafra and the new government incoming. Are we going to see a little bit more lenient when it comes to Bola Tinubu, the president-elect, and the Biafra struggle? All these, what is Buhari going to do? Is Buhari going to release or intervene or not when it comes to the 19 days left before Bola Tinubu, as we know, is still the president-elect until the court says otherwise. But what do you think is going to happen? Are we going to see, any changes that is going to happen? All these and everything, Buhari, as he is now leaving. Before we go away from the Biafra conversation, let's remind ourselves that as much as a lot of the movement that we are aware of today, it is not a crime. It is the 1914 amalgamation that has allowed everybody to question the authenticity, the originality of who are Nigerians. Yes, the British told us that they amalgamated Nigeria in 1914, but who did they consult? Why was that taking place? And even if there was not 100-year clause, the indigenous people have the right to ask to be taken back to where it was before the British colonial master destroyed the indigenous people. The reason why we saw that today, Nnamdi Kanu, with everyone that follows him, are demanding that they need to be given the referendum option so that they can decide whether they will be part or not of what is known as Nigeria. DZ123 went on to say, I missed some of the comment. Let me read it back quickly. Olakunle say he must be released. Release him, ideal, but Buhari, like it or not. Buhari will not release Nnamdi Kanu. This is coming from Mr. David Adegoke, my brother. Madipis, if he don't let everyone rise up to forward the case to the living and the dead. Clement says, lie. That means that he's never going to release Nnamdi Kanu. Also, Madipis says, let everyone put head of wisdom and knowing together to fool Nigeria is a sin. Adejoke Olani, welcome to you into the program. Madi went on to say, a land there, education can't solve anything for good. DZ123 says the UK court decision questioned why the British authority didn't intervene in Mazi Nnamdi Kanu, because the expectation is the British government should have intervened quickly when Nnamdi Kanu was kidnapped in June 2021, but it seems that they probably, moved their eyes away as if they were not aware. Prince Adeola, good evening to you. Waris to say, all hail Biafra, all hail Oduduwa, the public alliance exit of the Zuko British Nigeria operation. Biafra, sun, shine, shall rise. Yoruba, ni Imole Adulawo, Ajiboye, Najomu. Good evening and welcome. So that is how far so far with the comment there. And we are now going to go into the Yoruba Nation. Like I said, this is a sponsor part of the Star Radio UK, where now I'm Master Nipa Yoruba Nation. I will try to give a summary of whatever I'm going to be discussing between now and the next half an hour, because it's going to be in Yoruba language. Fún gbogbo ọmọ Yorùbá pátápátá tó ń gbọ́ wa nílé lóko, eléyìí wá láti ọ̀dọ̀ àwọn bàbá wa emeritus Professor Adébánjí Akíntóyè, tí wọ́n ń ṣe gbogbo ètò pé kí àwọn ọmọ Yorùbá kí a lè bọ́ kúrò nínú oko ẹrú tí a wà tán pè ní Nàìjíríà. Tí a bá wo ìgbésẹ̀ tí àwọn bàbá Akíntóyè ti gbé títí di wákàtí, a rí pé wọ́n ti gbé ọ̀pọ̀lọpọ̀ ìgbésẹ̀. Àwa ìgbésẹ̀ tí wọ́n gbé kò ń ṣe pé fún àwa ọmọ Yorùbá nìkan, àmọ́ fún ìran ọmọ Yorùbá tó ń bọ̀. Eléyìí tí à ń sọ ní lénìí ní wákàtí ó ń bọ̀ láti ọ̀dọ̀ àwọn bàbá wa. Lẹ́ẹ̀kan sí fún gbogbo ẹni tí ó bá ṣẹ̀ ń darapọ̀ mọ́ wa lórí ètò yìí rí, bóyá fún ìdí kan àbí ìdí kejì ẹ ṣẹ̀ ń darapọ̀ mọ́ wa. Eléyìí ni à ń pè ní ètò ètò Star Radio UK. Òun náà ni ẹja sí, níbi tí a ti ń sọ̀rọ̀, tí a ti ń fi ìdí pàtàkì tí ọmọ Yorùbá tí wọ́n gbọ́dọ̀ kúrò nínú ibi tí à ń pè ní ìlú kan tó ń pè ní Nàìjíríà. Lákọ̀ọ́kọ́, a máa rí pé àwa ọmọ Yorùbá, ìran ọmọ aládé, a ti ń bẹ kó tó di pé àwọn òyìnbó aláwọ̀ funfun wọ́n dé nígbà tí wọ́n ṣe sọ́dọ̀ wa láti 15th century títí di wákàtí ní Yorùbá tí ń bẹ, àmọ́ ní ọdún kan tó ń pè ní 1914 ni àwọn aláwọ̀ funfun tí a mọ̀ sí Britain ni wọ́n kó gbogbo àpapọ̀ pẹ̀lú àwọn ẹ̀yà tó kù ni wọ́n pè ní Nàìjíríà. Látìgbà yẹn títí di wákàtí yẹn tí a fi wá gba òmìnira tí bàbá wa the late Ọbáfẹ́mi Awólọ́wọ̀ àti àwọn Azikiwe àtàwọn Sardauna tí wọ́n wá sọ̀rọ̀ ní ìlú òyìnbó, in tí wọ́n fún wa níjọ́ náà lọ́hùn òun ni a máa pè ní regional government. Regional government yẹn òun ni ọ̀pọ̀lọpọ̀ àwọn tí wọ́n jẹ́ ẹni tó ń darí ilẹ̀ Yorùbá tí wọ́n jẹ́ bí àwọn tí wọ́n represent ìran Yorùbá lẹ́nìí. Regional government tí bàbá Awólọ́wọ̀ ṣe òun lọ́pọ̀lọpọ̀ wọn lọ́ fi ṣe ìgbádùn, àmọ́ lẹ́nìí a rí pé gbogbo àwọn tó jẹ́ adarí wa láti gómìnà títí dé àwọn ọ̀ràn tó jẹ́ àwọn sínétọ̀ wa àtàwọn house of rep, ẹ rí pé gbogbo ètò tó yẹ kó ṣe fún ìran ọmọ Yorùbá wọ́n ṣàwọn ètò yẹn, àmọ́ àwa fi ń tó wọn létí pé àwa ọmọ Yorùbá àwa náà fẹ́ Nàìjíríà mọ́. Lára ìdí tí a fi ń polongo Yorùbá nation, lára ìdí tí a fi ń sọ fún gbogbo ọmọ Yorùbá pé ẹ bá jẹ́ ká fi Nàìjíríà sílẹ̀, àmọ́ a rí pé nígbà ìdìbò tó ṣẹ̀ lọ tán yìí ọ̀pọ̀lọpọ̀ ọmọ Yorùbá ni wọ́n lọ dìbò. Kí ni ìdí tí wọ́n ṣe lọ dìbò? Ni pé nítorí pé Bọ́lá Tinubu ìyẹn tó jẹ́ ọmọ Yorùbá òun náà gbé ipò pé òun fẹ́ di aṣíwájú ilẹ̀ Yorùbá. Ìyẹn jẹ́ kí nǹkan tí ọ̀pọ̀lọpọ̀ ọmọ Yorùbá ò fara mọ́ Yorùbá nation. Àmọ́ tá a bá wò lọ wò bọ̀, in tí bàbá wa dókítà Chief Sunday Adéyẹmọ Ìgbòho in tó ń sọ ni pé ẹ̀tọ́ tí àwọn ará France ní òun náà ló yẹ kí ọmọ Yorùbá ní, ẹ̀tọ́ tí àwọn ọmọ Germany ní òun náà ló yẹ ká ní. Àmọ́ tá a bá wò lọ wò bọ̀ láti bí ọdún kan àbọ̀ nísìn tó ń lọ pé ọdún méjì, a rí pé bàbá wa olóyè Dr. Sunday Igboho ó ti wà nílùú Benin Republic. Níbẹ̀ ni ó wà nígbà tó fẹ́ máa rìnrìn àjò lọ báwọn ẹbí ẹ̀ ní Germany. Àmọ́ Buhari ìyẹn Fúlàní tí ó jẹ́ adarí ilẹ̀ Yorùbá, adarí ilẹ̀ Nàìjíríà tó ń bẹ nílùú òyìnbó bí a ti ṣe ń sọ̀rọ̀ lọ́wọ́lọ́wọ́ nísìn, tí ó ń gba ìwòsàn tí kò lè gbà ní Nàìjíríà tó ń gbà níbí. Ó wá ní kí ibikíbi tó bá ti rí Ìgbòho wọ́n bá òun mú wá, torí pé kí ni bóun ṣe jí Nnamdi Kanu gbé. Ẹ rántí pé ní 2021 ni Buhari jí Nnamdi Kanu gbé. Buhari ò ṣe máa jíyàn gbé. Tá bá lọ sí 1983 Buhari náà fẹ́ jí ẹnìkan tó ń pè ní Umaru Dikko, àmọ́ jíjígbé yẹn kò bọ́ sí. Buhari ti wá tún ní kó lọ jí Ìgbòho wá fóun nítorí pé inú wọn ò dùn pé nígbà tí wọ́n wá sínú ilé Ìgbòho àwọn ò rí Ìgbòho pa, so wọ́n fẹ́ mú Ìgbòho mọ́lẹ̀. Àmọ́ ìbéèrè tí à ń bi Buhari ni pé kí ni ẹ̀ṣẹ̀ tí Ìgbòho ṣe tó fi di pé ẹ̀ ń lépa ẹ̀mí rẹ̀. Tá bá rántí pé Àdògán ìyẹn ẹni tó jẹ́ ọ̀rẹ́ bàbá wa olóyè Sunday Ìgbòho àti Alhaji Fatai tí wọ́n parí sínú ilé bàbá wa ti Dr. Sunday Ìgbòho ìyẹn ní ọdún tó lọ bíi 2021. Bí a ti ṣe ń sọ̀rọ̀ títí di wákàtí a máa tí ì rí òkú yẹn gbà padà. Lára àwọn ìdí lọ́pọ̀lọpọ̀ ni àwọn ọmọ Yorùbá ṣe wá ń sọ fún Buhari pé àwọn òkú tó wà lọ́wọ́ ẹ tẹ́ kọ́kọ́ fún wa ní òkú padà, nítorí pé òkú yìí ti wá ń di intafin ní fàásíbí fàásọ̀hún láti bí ọdún méjì nísìn. Àwọn olóko òrókù wọn gbogbo ọmọ Yorùbá tó wá ń sọ pé yẹn pé ká ṣe sùúrù nígbà tí Bọ́lá Tinubu ti débẹ̀. Ọmọ Yorùbá ni ẹ jẹ́ ká fi tó yín létí pé Bọ́lá Tinubu tó débẹ̀ kò ń ṣe Yorùbá president, Nigeria president ni Bọ́lá Tinubu máa ṣe. Nigeria president tó dẹ̀ máa ṣe representative fún gbogbo ọmọ Nàìjíríà, kò kì í ṣe fún Yorùbá nìkan. So ìyẹn yàtọ̀ sí intawa ń sọ pé a fẹ́ òmìnira, a fẹ́ dá dúró gẹ́gẹ́ bí ìran ọmọ aládé. For those that have not understood what we have been saying in almost 10 minutes from now, we are giving the background to the Yoruba people, the reason why the Yoruba people wants the exit out of Nigeria, and just as the British left the European Union after 35 years of relationship, not that the British people would not be able to travel to Spain, would not be able to travel to any other European countries, but the difference is they would then have to travel not as a EU citizen, but as a relationship between the two countries. So these are the part of the explanation that I was giving in a beautiful mother tongue language called the Yoruba. We also talk about this, our father, the late Obafemi Awolowo, while he was the regional government that the British led to the independence of Nigeria. That regional government have been destroyed, but what we are practicing today is no longer a regional government. This practice today that we have is completely different from what we are told when it comes to the election that is being conducted and so many activities that has happened in the last 23 years. Also, we talked about these two individuals that you might have seen the pictures in some of the places before seeing it here on the Starr Radio UK this evening, the 10th of May 2023, just coming up to almost 20 minutes before 8 p.m. To your left-hand side of these images that you're watching is a friend, a businessman, a family man that was murdered right inside the house of the father, an uncle, a philanthropist, a human rights activist, Dr. Oloye Sunday IGBOHO. His friend that was spending the night was murdered by the federal government of Nigeria, of President Muhammadu Buhari, and his vice president, Yemi Osinbajo, and the governor of Oyo State, Seyi Makinde. These all happened in the southwest part of Nigeria, known as Ibadan in Oyo State. This happened just on the 1st of July 2021, and this was because they wanted to assassinate this man on the left-hand side, known as Dr. Oloye Sunday IGBOHO, but he was able to escape that assassination attempt. But the right-hand side of this video that you're watching right now is his uncle, known as Alhaji Fatai. He was also murdered in cold blood by President Muhammadu Buhari and the Vice President Yemi Osinbajo and the Governor of Oyo State, Seyi Makinde. All these individuals would have questions to answer for the life taken out of this, friend and cousin and uncle of Dr. Oloye Sunday IGBOHO. So these are part of the explanation that we are giving. Also, that on the right-hand side, I'm sure you all know that is the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Is still in London on a medical trip because he's no longer here on a visit of the coronation. He has actually extended it now for a medical reason. And on your left-hand side is a philanthropist, a human rights activist, the man of the people, the man that wants a better life for the Yoruba people, known as Dr. Sunday Oloye IGBOHO Chief, also known as AKA Sunday IGBOHO. He has been held in Benin Republic, where Benin Republic have given him reason to stay there because they believe that his life is under threat by the federal government of Nigeria and the Vice President Yemi Osinbajo, and that is the reason why he remains in Benin Republic. But last week, information came out that President Muhammadu Buhari and the incoming president-elect, Bola Tinubu, the one on the left-hand side, are planning to still assassinate and kidnap him just as Nnamdi Kanu was kidnapped. The question to President Muhammadu Buhari is, why do you still want to kidnap Dr. Chief Sunday IGBOHO, even though he hasn't committed any crime? Let's also remind the international listeners that on the 1st of July, his house was not just invaded. We had about 10 individuals that were taken away for months, tortured, and also maltreated, which is contravene to the international human right and also the international law on human rights. And after a lot of court appearances and court cases, after 7 months, the last person was released. The question is, should we remain in Nigeria as Yoruba people? The subjugation, the malnutrition, and so many reasons that the Yoruba people, as indigenous people, must now exit Nigeria. That is what these philanthropists, the human rights activists, and so many other philanthropies he has done is asking for. But we do know that the country called Nigeria doesn't want this kind of situation to happen, as we know. Rather, it is still lies upon lies by these information minister Alhaji Lai Mohammed that continue to tell the international community that there's rules of engagement in Nigeria and there's also rules of what we call human rights. There is no human right in Nigeria under the current government of President Muhammadu Buhari and the Vice President Yemi Osinbajo. That is meant to understand and know better. If the president do not know better, the lawyer and the senior advocate of Nigeria, of the Vice President, should have been able to advise his government that kidnapping of somebody like Nnamdi Kanu and also trying to assassinate, IGBOHO is not something that can be done in a civilized 21st century. As we say, freedom is not something that can be restricted because you want to live in a system that is not working. Everybody have the right to freedom, and that is exactly part of what Amnesty International have done a lot of report when it comes to Nigeria. Once again, Boye say Yoruba should rise up and claim their good position in the community of good. Progressive nations in the world, the British and the court in the indirect slavery business are mostly the impediment on the way to the freedom of the indigenous people. Also, he went on to say, anyway, anyhow, the Yoruba nation will stand, the struggle moves on till the freedom comes. Share. Also, DZ123 says the UK court decision questioned while the British authority didn't intervene as well. Keep the comment coming. Madi please say all freedom fighter, free Mazi Nnamdi Kanu is a must. Lai Mohammed continued to tell the international community all kind of lies, but we know that the lies cannot work because we now have a law. Is the new British High Commissioner, I don't know whether he has assumed office yet, but this is going to be the new British High Commissioner as Katrina Lang has finally left that position. Dr. Mongori would have to have a lot of discussion when it comes to especially the situation with Nnamdi Kanu and so many other cases as we have it as well. If you're still with us tonight, we also went ahead to discuss this is the only leader, and let's emphasize this again, Yoruba, the only person to be leader for the Yoruba self-determination movement. Àwọn ni bàbá wa emeritus Professor Adebanji Akintoye. Agbégbòsà fún wọn, agbégbòsà fún bàbá wa Chief Ayiloge, agbégbòsà fún bàbá wa Iba Gani Adams, agbégbòsà fún gbogbo àwọn tí wọ́n ń ṣiṣẹ́ láti ìlànà ti Amẹ́ríkà àti gbogbo ibi tí ẹ̀ka ìlànà wà, agbégbòsà fún bàbá wa Báṣẹ̀gùn ní United Kingdom àti gbogbo àwọn tí wọ́n ń ṣe ètò pé kí omi tí wàhálà tí a wà nínú ẹ̀ tí a kóra wa sí àti èyí tí ìyá Dúpẹ́ Onítìrí tó wọlé dé tó dagboru à ń sọ fún gbogbo ọmọ Yorùbá pé arábìnrin yẹn ìyẹn Dúpẹ́ Onítìrí kò kí ń ṣe any leader fún movement tí a gbé dání. Wọ́n lè ná ọmọ Yorùbá ní ó lẹ́tọ̀ọ́ láti ṣe tiẹ̀, àmọ́ in tó ń ṣe ni pé ó ń fa ìrìn àjò yẹn sẹ́yìn, ó ń lo ọgbọ́n àrékémakè, ó ń gbé lọ báyìí, ó ń gbé lọ báyìí, gbogbo ohun tó ń sọ kò ní authenticity kankan nínú, kò ní anything tó lè bákẹ̀. In tó kàn sọ ni pé òun ti declare Yorùbá nation ìyẹn ní ọdún tó kọjá, àmọ́ kò mú ẹ̀rí kankan jáde, ó ń parọ́ lọ síbí, á parọ́ lọ sọ́hùn. Ó láwọn tí wọ́n fi ń gbé ètò ẹ̀ jáde, àwa ń sọ fún gbogbo ọmọ Yorùbá pé gbogbo tó bá ti ń jáde lẹ́nu Dúpẹ́ Onítìrí, irọ́ balasa ló wà níbẹ̀, ẹ jẹ́ ká sá fún. Tó bá sọ̀rọ̀ ọ̀rọ̀ tó ń sọ jáde lẹ́nu, gbogbo ọ̀rọ̀ yẹn ọ̀rọ̀ tí kò ní làákàyè ni. Ó nídìí láti lọ sí hospital kó gbé lọ sí mental home tó wà ní Arò ní Abẹ́òkúta kó lè bá tọ́jú àrùn ọpọlọ tó ń bẹ lórí ẹ̀ nítorí pé bó ṣe ń sọ̀rọ̀ ó ti ní àrùn ọpọlọ àrùn ẹni tó bá dẹ̀ ní àrùn ọpọlọ ó ti di pé wọ́n gbọ́dọ̀ treat ẹ̀ so ìwọ tó bá sì ń gbọ́ Dúpẹ́ Onítìrí tó ń parọ́ fún yín ẹ tètè sá kí ìwọ náà bá bàa mú àrùn ọpọlọ nítorí pé ẹni tó ní àwọn ti gba country ẹtún fẹ́ ṣe interim ẹ ti ṣe reclamation ẹ ti ṣe declamation kódà ẹ ti ṣe menstruation gan gbogbo ẹ wá di irọ́ pálásá sínú Yorùbá movement àwọn tó wá ń bá to ètò yẹn a ti mọ̀ pé ọ̀pọ̀lọpọ̀ wọn ò ní làákàyè nítorí pé tó bá ní làákàyè ni wàá lè mọ̀ pé n tó ń pè ní afẹ́gba nation kò ń ṣe bí ìgbà téèyàn fẹ́ lọ ra kúlíkúlí lẹ́gbẹ̀ẹ́ títì kò kì í ṣe bí ẹni tó fẹ́ lọ sí Sango market àbí ẹni tó fẹ́ lọ sí Peckham gbogbo àwọn tó wá ń tẹ̀lé wọn tó ń bẹ nílùú òyìnbó a ti mọ̀ páwọn yẹn ara ń ta wọn ni nítorí pé wọn ò rí èèyàn tó jẹ́ bí àgbàlagbà tó ń bẹ nídìílé wọn tó dàbí ti bàbá Akíntóyè torí pé tó bá ní àgbàlagbà nílé tó ní làákàyè à á mọ̀ pé ní máa fi ọ̀rọ̀ sí bàbá 88 tí ó ti nírun funfun lórí a mọ̀ pé ọ̀pọ̀lọpọ̀ yín ẹ ti na bàbá yín pa mọ́nulé nítorí pé ẹ̀yin tẹ́ wà láàbùrọ̀d mo bá wí nísìnyí ẹ ti na bàbá yín pa owó oúnjẹ tó yẹ kẹ́ fún fún lówó oúnjẹ tó fi kú bò nígbà tó kú ẹ wá pa màálù rẹpẹtẹ nílé pa bàbá Akíntóyè nítorí pé bàbá tí ó ti kọ history Yorùbá láti 1978 about 44 years ago ẹ wá ní kò mọ̀ kankan ṣe ẹ wá ní Ìgbòho mọ̀ kankan ṣe bọ́ ẹ ti gbàgbé pé bàbá Akíntóyè òun ló lu agogo kí ló lù agogo pé ká lè ronú sí Yorùbá nation kódà àwọn bàbá wa tí a nífẹ̀ẹ́ náà tí a mọ̀ sí bàbá wa Ayọ̀ Adébánjọ agogo táwọn ń lù sí ni pé Nigeria struggle continue ẹ wá rí i pé wọ́n á máa ní bàbá professor àwọn kúrò láàrin àwọn Afẹ́nifẹ́re wọ́n tẹ̀ kúrò láàrin Afẹ́nifẹ́re in táwọn sọ ni pé ọ̀nà táfẹ́nifẹ́re ń gbà ó yàtọ̀ sọ́nà tí àwọn ń gbà a nífẹ̀ẹ́ gbogbo àwọn bàbá wa tó jẹ́ àwọn àgbàlagbà wa ọ̀nà àtúbọ̀ jẹ́ kí ẹ pẹ́ fún wa bàbá Adébánjọ ta nífẹ̀ẹ́ náà àwọn sọ pé restructure làwọn fẹ́ ìyẹn làwọn ṣe dúró ti restructure Nàìjíríà àmọ́ bàbá wa ìyẹn emeritus tí ẹ̀ ń fọwọ́ kàn lójú tí ẹ̀ ń pè lóríṣiríṣi orúkọ á ti mọ̀ pé ẹ̀ ní àgbàlagbà nínú ilé púpọ̀ nù yín àti iṣẹ́ ẹ kórí bẹ́ẹ̀ tó ń sọ̀rọ̀ àti ìjìnlẹ̀ tó ń sọ̀rọ̀ àti Wálé Àlí tó ń sọ̀rọ̀ àti Black Goat tó ń sọ̀rọ̀ tẹ bá ní àgbàlagbà nínú ilé ẹ̀yin á máa sọ pé bàbá báyìí ń parọ́ irọ́ wo ni bàbá yìí ń pa tí a lè fi sọ pé n tí bàbá yìí sọ fún wa ní 2018 ni gbogbo wa kọ́kọ́ máa gbọ́ pé Yorùbá nation wáyé kò sẹ́nì kankan tó gbọ́ kò sẹ́nì kankan tó mọ̀ nípa ẹ̀ torí pé kí ni nílàákàyè pé ó jẹ́ ká ti máa pariwo Yorùbá nation àwọn tó ń pariwo ẹ̀ wọn láti ìgbà tó ti ń pariwo ẹ̀ wọ́n mú ẹ̀rí tó lè sọ fún wa pé àwọn ti gbìyànjú díẹ̀ bàbá wa wá lọ sí ọ̀dọ̀ àwọn UNPO wọ́n kọ́kọ́ lọ ṣe tó ń pè ní in tó lè báàkì wa tó jẹ́gẹ́ bí òfin UNPO kì í ṣe United Nations lóòótọ́ àmọ́ bàbá lọ mú ìta lè fi sọ pé tá a bá ti jáde kí federal government bàbá pè wá ní jàǹdùkú àwọn tó fẹ́ gba ìjọba torí àwọn kì í ṣe ẹni tó fẹ́ gba ìjọba a fẹ́ gba ẹ̀tọ́ wa ni ẹ wá ń nawọ́ sí bàbá yẹn ẹ wá ń sọ oríṣiríṣi sí bàbá yẹn àmọ́ tí kò yé yín ni pé bàbá tẹ̀ ń nawọ́ sí tẹ̀ ń sọwọ́ sí báyìí orí bàbá yìí náà ni gbogbo yín ti fi popular àti Ìgbòho orí bàbá yìí náà lẹ́yìn ti fi gba owó lẹ́yìn náà fi ṣe oríṣiríṣi nǹkan táwọn èèyàn dá fún gbogbo wa ẹ wá ń nawọ́ pé bàbá yìí ò mọ̀ kankan àwa fi ń tó gbogbo ọmọ Yorùbá pé tẹ bá ti ń gbọ́ ohùn Dúpẹ́ Onítìrí lọ́dọ̀ gbogbo àwọn jàǹdùkú tọ́jọ́ ń bá sọ̀rọ̀ ẹ sá fún nítorí pé àrùn ọpọlọ ń ṣe a mọ̀ pé nígbà kan ní 2015 ó sì wà pain ó ní Ọlọ́run lòun ló máa jẹ gómìnà Lagos State àmọ́ Ọlọ́run yẹn ò wá fún láyè nítorí pé Ọlọ́run rí pé èèyàn jàǹdùkú ni olè ní jàgùdà ní gbogbo tó fẹ́ ṣe nínú Yorùbá nation tó ń pariwo ó gbé 5 million petition ọmọ Yorùbá ibi tó gbé sí nísìn ẹ̀yin sọ pé kò kàn yín àmọ́ àwa ń sọ fún yín pé ẹ jẹ́ kó kàn yín nítorí pé data tí ó gbé lọ data yẹn 30 years from now wọ́n sì lè fi ṣe passport ìlú mi kù ìyẹn la ṣe ń sọ fún gbogbo èèyàn pé Dúpẹ́ Onítìrí the virus woman ẹ sá fún ní kíákíá tẹ bá ń gbóhùn ẹ̀ lọ́dọ̀ àwọn tó ti ń sọ̀rọ̀ irọ́ ni, ó náà máa ṣe aṣọ ọlọ́pàá, ó náà máa ṣe interim government on the 29. Nígbà tí ìjọba Nàìjíríà ṣì ń sọ pé Bọ́lá Tinubu the president elect wọ́n máa gbé wá ní 29 tó máa swear in, òun náà tún wá ń sọ 29. Tó bá ti wá fẹ́ gbé ìgbésẹ̀ kan á ní àwa mídíà yìí là ń baṣẹ́ jẹ́. Ẹ jẹ́ kí n ṣàlàyé kankan fún yín. Gbogbo ìgbà tí ó fi wà pẹ̀lú wa, nígbà tí àwọn mídíà ń pè pé jẹ́ ká béèrè ìbéèrè lọ́wọ́ ẹ, a máa sá. A ní tẹ bá ti fẹ́ béèrè ìbéèrè òun lè sọ̀rọ̀, nítorí pé tiẹ̀ ní pé kó wá lo sugar coated mounted láti fi sọ̀rọ̀ according to the time, according to the time, according to the time. Àwọn bí 419 ṣe máa ń ṣe nìyẹn. So for the benefit of our listeners that probably do not understand what I was saying, because we are now just about half an hour before the program, there's a particular woman that came into the movement known as Dupe Onitiri. At the beginning, we brought her onto the Star Radio. We thought she was part of the movement, but evidence have now proved that she's here to work against the movement. So, and she has a lot of listeners as well. She has a lot of followers. Even devil has followers. Even devil has a lot of followers. So we are not worried about the followers, but the followers will continue to drop out when she cannot, bring in evidence. When she cannot bring in the evidence, as she has told us. I'm going to read your comment on the Instagram. Bear with us. There's a comment coming on the Instagram. And like I always say, this is an interactive platform where we discuss, we engage, and we read as many of your comments as we find them coming through. Once again, this is the comment says, Bab says, I still have Baba's video on YouTube page when he ushered us into UNPO. Thank you so much. Many of the people hijacking the movement were nowhere to be found. And this is the question. Nobody, even myself, never knew that there was anything called Yoruba Nation. Even Dr. Victor Taiwo, that told us he has been doing Yoruba Nation for 24 years or whatever years. Nobody heard about it. Nobody. So the only man that came in 2018, the movement did not start in 2019. But because of the coronavirus, there was a lot of, things that could not happen anymore from around November 2018. So, Professor, with some groups of people, worked quietly. And the moment the registration happened, that registration information came out. Just as the Biafra also have those that wants to destroy it after the kidnap of Nnamdi Kanu. They sold Nnamdi Kanu out. There are some individuals within the Biafra caucus that knew Nnamdi Kanu was in Kenya, and because of the because of this money, right, that they wanted to get from Buhari, they sold Nnamdi Kanu to the federal government. So there has always been within the movement people that will come and try to destroy these two individuals that the world will tend to know, just as the world wanted to castigate the late Nelson Mandela. Kingsley, good evening to you. Nelson Mandela was called a terrorist, but today the statue of Nelson Mandela is erect in the front of the same institution that told us Nelson Mandela was a terrorist. Nnamdi Kanu and Dr. Chief Sunday IGBOHO are not terrorists. What they're asking for is the same that any other countries around the world are asking for. And their movement have never been violent, even though the federal government has tried as much as possible to portray the two movements as a movement that is a violent movement. We know who is behind the kidnapping, the killings, the destruction within the southeast and the southwest. And in the next half an hour, I'll be giving you some of the latest terrorist attack that is still happening in Nigeria today. So this is part of what we have been discussing for now. We now come back again. Thank you so much, Latif. Keep the comment coming. Kingsley, good evening to you. Madi say, money conscious people. That is why I run from them. And it is true, you must run away from some certain people because when it comes to money, they will sell you out. So that is about that. Let's now return back to the program again. This is still Star Radio UK. It is the finest. Ibrahim Akanji, good evening to you. Akimejiwa, Damilola, good evening to you. And the rest of you that are listening to us on the MixLR. Dupe Nawiri International is coming from Comrade Pambi. Comrade Pambi also say IGBOHO is our hero and we love him for the sacrifice. Even Awikoko that say you won't see anything to talk about again after January is now doing skit and lights. Wow. There's always a lot to discuss when it comes to Star Radio UK and Olayomi Koike. Very, very blessed good evening to my beautiful mother and welcome into the conversation as we are now half an hour to the end of the program. If you've just joined us, we appreciate you for the time that you're spending with us, especially those of you in Africa. It is a lot when it comes to, buying internet that is not cheap. It's very, very expensive. We give shout out to the Young Khan. We give shout out to Mrs. Janet Fashaki. We give shout out to the Yoruba World Media. We give shout out to all the bloggers that are discussing and talking about the Yoruba nation. We give shout out to the Autopilot Media. We give shout out to the Ijaw people that want freedom as well. And shout out to those that are still in love with Nigeria. And we hope that may Nigeria not happen to you. If you're listening to us on the Star Radio UK as well, once again, let me read some of the comments. I know that I didn't read that in the past. A very sorry to you, Mrs. Comfort Ologunja. This is serious. Now, wow, oh God, you. Please, easy, man. Good evening to you, Gani Oloyede. Say, Professor Olayomi. Good evening to you, Bishop Adeshino. Koiki, look at the Nigerian president with toothpick. That's why he's having tooth problem. He's here in London. Buhari is here. Comfort Ologunja, a mother, a grandmother, a lover of freedom, always there at the rally. Satan was once an angel before he became a fallen angel, and Satan was casted down to the earth. Thank you so much as a lot of you continue to listen to Star Radio. We are now towards the half an hour of the program. The program ends at exactly 8:30, and we'll be closing the door on tonight's show. But remember that if we say nothing, do nothing, evil will continue to prosper. Let's now talk about Nigeria again. Nigeria is a country that has allowed, criminals to take over, the arms of affairs. The President Muhammadu Buhari, even after all the budget of the Aso Rock clinic, cannot take medical treatment in there as well. Omobolaji Abdullahi say, IGBOHO sha, Imole Adulawo, more strength to our hero. So I'm not going to go back now to some other news as we have it in the headlines from Nigeria this particular evening. Once again, it is still the finest African. Shout out to my producer, Mr. Frank and Mr. Archie. And like I always say, if it's not Star Radio UK, it cannot be anywhere else. Let's now go a little bit further as I say, welcome to each and every one of you. Well, by the time I come back, and then we'll be discussing everything that's coming out from the headline as more terrorists are still operating in Nigeria with impunity.
This is Star Radio UK. In your car, outside, on the smartphone. Broadcasting worldwide online 24/7. Broadcasting worldwide online 24/7. In your car, outside, on the smartphone. The best radio show. The best radio show. The best radio show. Broadcasting worldwide online 24/7. Okay.
Well, it is, Star Radio UK. So let me start telling you the news headline from Nigeria paper on 10th of May 2023 at exactly 8 p.m. local time here in London and 8 p.m. local time in Nigeria as well. Omoluabi Akinsoya, good evening to you. And God's protection, good evening to you. Olasumbo, good evening to you. Gapsin, good evening to you. And good evening to Mrs. Balogun Olashade and the rest of you that have joined us on all the platforms. Daily Trust, Tribunal to Lawyers, Parties. We must consider Nigeria peace is one of the headlines. Gunmen invade Cargo Emir's house, adopted 7 grandchildren and 6 others. A very sad situation in Nigeria. Ahead of the commission, Dangote says Nigeria to gain $20 billion from the refinery. Media Trust appoints Mudashiru as the Deputy General Editor. Also, the reps reject NCC 700 billion naira request to close the coverage gap. That is coming from Daily Trust, coming out of Nigeria today. Leadership, presidential poll, we shall ensure justice. Tribunal. Well, I hope there will be justice. Presidential poll, we shall ensure justice. This is coming from leadership from Nigeria. Tinubu may travel out as northern youth seek probe of Buhari's aid. Terrorists adopt 40 worshipper in Kaduna is coming from this headline from leadership today. Nigeria to spend $3.3 billion on auto parts annually. A lot of Nigerians drive vehicles, but most of those vehicles are second-hand, and some of those vehicles also need to be replaced in terms of the spare part. So, good evening to you, Salami Tosi, and once again, good evening to each and everyone that is with us at this particular time, listening to Starr Radio UK. Also, we know that the Vice President was with Tony Elumelu. 2 people died, but 2 to die by hanging for conspiracy and robbery in Delta State. Supreme Court decide Adeleke and Oyetola's fate, and again that is coming. I believe this is yesterday. We should be reading today, not yesterday. I'm not sure how we are mixing that up. This headline is not from today. This headline is from yesterday, but it's still okay. I thought we have by the media. Let's see if this one is today. Once again, a very good evening. Okay, we probably did not post the ones from today. Let's quickly do that. Very, very important that we tell you the headline coming out of Nigeria. We have those headlines. Let me quickly do that because headlines are very, very important. It gives you an idea what is happening in Nigeria. As we say, may Nigeria not happen to each and every one of us, because the one I was reading was from yesterday, and we are already 24 hours away from yesterday, so we shouldn't be reading that. So we have that ready, and that will be coming up in just about a few minutes. I'll be giving you all the headlines from a country called Nigeria, and some call it Location 9, some call it the Zoo Country, depending on what part on conversation. So we now have those headlines coming up in just about a few minutes as we're still preparing for that. So while we're waiting for that, right violation now reduced in the military. Violation, 5 minutes past 8 p.m. Do you think that that is true? Sonky, good evening to you and welcome. Nigerians borrowing trouble imminent, says the budget office. Buhari is still trying to borrow even at 19 days before he leaves office. I don't know what he wants to do with the money, but it seems that President Muhammadu Buhari still wants to borrow money. So let's read that a little bit. The budget office of the Federation has said Nigeria has a limited borrowing space due to its poor debt to revenue ratio, stressing that trouble looms for the country if it exceeds its limit. Do you think that President Muhammadu Buhari is going to get another loan before he goes? Thank you so much, Otuba Adekunle. Let's read a little bit more. The office issued the warning as the outgoing President Muhammadu Buhari, wrote to the National Assembly seeking approval for a fresh loan of $800 million from the World Bank. The person where they go in 19 days still want to borrow $800 million. What is that for? Is it for the road project? What do you think that Buhari that is going in 19 days still wants to borrow $800 million. Kingsley says Boko Haram is cashing non-stop. He's definitely making a lot of money. The question is, what is President Buhari going to do with $800 million? Maybe it's worth it. Let's read a little bit further. The Director General of the Budget Office, Ben Akabuzu, while addressing members-elect of the 10th National Assembly at the weeks-long induction ceremony in Abuja. Some of them will be leaving very fast now. You know, they will not pick up your calls because they have won the election and they know that they will not need you until 4 years when they come back and they start buying Gari and Epa for some of you out there. We hope that they will do the needful for those of you that believe in Nigeria. I don't believe in Nigeria because it is just too late for Nigeria to work. But the Director General of the Budget Office, Ben, told us that the returning members of the National Assembly, which is responsible for the consideration, amendment, passage of annual budget of the federal government, as well as economy bills like the finance bill, he said, "You may have heard that we have one of the lowest gross domestic product to debt ratio in the world. While the size of the federal government budget for 2023 created some excitement, the aggregated budget of all the government in the country amounted to about 30 trillion. That is less than 15%. So, like I said, we now have the full paper review, and then I will be bringing that up about 22 minutes before the end of the program. Once again, DZ123 say the Global Yoruba Nation movement is making progress. I promised to play the audio of Ijaya. I will be playing that just after the news headline that is coming up in just about a few minutes. Borrowing continue, but it's creating a lot of issue in Nigeria. So, like I said, don't go anywhere. The audio is 10 minutes, is in Yoruba, and it's just advice to every Yoruba out there to believe only in Professor Adebanji Akintoye, the Yoruba World Media, and all the home medias, and everyone that is working towards the actualization of the Yoruba nation. Those of you that are asking, are we still in the movement? The movement seems to be quiet. There's no activity. Awareness continue online, and also a lot of meetings continue in different platforms. So if you have a platform, continue to also have a conversation. Ogechukwu said Boko Haram said that Nigerians were begging to come back. I hope not. Now that I have the papers in the front of me, and this is for the 10th of May 2022, we start with the blueprint. The 10th National Assembly Senate, the North Central Senators elect Doguwa Batari Wase Dare APC. Buhari on the Supreme Court verdict. It is time to end bickering, develop Osun State. Well, that is coming from Buhari there on the blueprint. Vanguard, again, crisis rocks APC over zoning of the Senate President Speaker. Tinubu seeks dismissal of APM petition, says it lacks merit. Again, Fulani terrorists storm Benue community, killed 3, injured many. This is in Vanguard today. Also, Telecoms, right now demand flag down of the new NITD bill. Let's go to the one leadership. 2,585 appointees aid brass for the job loss. Osun governorship, Supreme Court dash Oyetola's O. 16 people were killed in Akwa Ibom court clash. That is coming. Tony Blair, 2 U.S. governors and others for governorship elect induction. Really? Tony Blair is coming for the... Wow, interesting. May 29, if you own a private jet, if you're a private jet owner worried over fan relocation notice, they want you to come and move your private jet. Daily Trust, Supreme Court affirms Adeleke as Osun State Governor. El Rufai wants 80% for state revert to 1963 Constitution. I love this side because this is where my brother Tuja always excited. Do you think that 80% for state will revert to 1963 constitution? Soludo advocate devolution of power. Let's deploy technology to diversify economy. Patami. Okay. Tribunal hears Obi's motion today. Article on Tinubu citizenship tomorrow. 15 girls died in Sokoto boat mishap. May their soul rest in peace. Crude oil theft. Federal government demands $7 billion naira before a vessel is released. 7 people are found dead after drinking tea at a wedding in Kano. Kingsley, like and share. Thank you so much. Now let's go to Daily Sun. Presidential election. Tribunal entertainment articles pre-hearing petition tomorrow. Jubilation in Osun as Supreme Court affirms Adeleke. Like I said, in just about few minutes after this news headline, I'm going to be playing an audio, and that audio might last about 10 minutes. Please sit back and enjoy it. It's going to be in Yoruba language. It's just words of encouragement for those of us in the Yoruba Nation movement struggle. Nigerian Tribune. Wase Dogowa Batara push for consensus candidate. Supreme Court affirms Adeleke victory. Presidential election court. While we insist on live proceeding, PDP. No one can erase Awolowo's name, Anglican bishop. We do know that already, as yes, Awolowo 36 memorial service was taking place. Transcorp 240 megawatt AFAM power plant inaugurated. Encourage exporters and repatriate 1.7 billion in Nigeria in 3 months. CBN. Adaguodo, PDP West Zonal Vice Chairman, is dead. May so rest in peace. The Punch. Tribunal to consider PDP and Labour Party live broadcast request. Final victory. But Buhari Tinubu congratulate Adeleke supporter jubilate. Federal government orders the private jet removal from Abuja airport. A Lagos bishop raped me twice. Female pastor. Again, 15 died in Sokoto boat accident. 25 people are missing. Speaker, 5 aggrieved aspirant team up against Abbas. Otedola fumes over Transcorp deal. Elumelu keeps mum. Over $200 billion national asset lost to terrorism, federal government. Wow. Over $200 billion national asset have been lost to terrorism. Nigeria is a crime scene, according to Kingsley. Samson Adekunle say, Nigeria location, Buje. Let's look at what is happening on the big seller. Okay, nothing. Welcome, Aki Games. Thank you so much for joining us. So we are just one more from the paper because it's now 15 minutes and these programs end at exactly 8:30, and I need to play that audio so that we can all listen to it. Adeleke survives as Supreme Court affirms his election. PDP, Buhari, Tinubu celebrate. Emefiele, RT200 initiative boost non-oil export by 40% in 2022. $1.7 billion inflow recorded in the Q1 of 2023. Banks demand clearance certificate on Forex transaction. I don't know whether more Nigerians can have access to Forex, but it is what it is. Now we're going to leave that and now come back slightly again to the Yoruba Nation struggle, where we will look into what we can say is coming from the man known as the Voice. A lot of you have listened to him. A lot of you have come across him. A lot of you have met him. But the Voice is one popular individual when it comes to the Yoruba Nation struggle. Like I say, sit down, have a sip of water. I'm going to relax as well. It's in Yoruba language. We might do a bit of summary of what he has said in that audio.
nation, kò séwu lẹ́gbẹ̀rún ẹ̀kọ́ àfàìjú ọbẹ̀. Yorùbá nation, àyà wa balẹ̀, a dúpẹ́. Kábíyèsí. Yorùbá nation, Yorùbá nation, Yorùbá nation. Gbogbo àwọn tẹ́lẹ̀ dá òfin rán, wọ́n ti ṣubú. Yorùbá nation, amọ́ra wa. Yorùbá nation, amọ́ra wa. Ẹ̀ṣẹ́ àrẹ́gbẹ́ wa, ẹ̀ṣẹ́ àrẹ́gbẹ́ tiwọn, ọ̀ṣẹ́ dàtidàti. Àwọn tó máa jẹ Yorùbá nation tọ́lọ́hún lé. Àwọn ọ̀dẹ̀ ń lójú wọn. Àwọn ọmọ ẹrú, àwọn tẹ̀bẹ̀lẹ̀kú, àwọn èèyàn burúkú, àwọn tí wọ́n ní làákàyè, àwọn tó kàwé náà kọ́gbọ́n, àwọn ọ̀lẹ̀ ń rí tó wà lómìnira, òmìnira ló gbé dání. Ìgbésẹ̀ tí ìgbọ́dọ̀ ṣe bí Yorùbá nation jáde wọ́n ń ṣe fúnra wọn, wọ́n ń ṣara wa. Oníkìrí ò ń ṣe Yorùbá nation mọ́. Onígbàtí wọ́n ti sáàkì ẹ̀. Ṣé ó yẹ kó ya wèrè? Ó ń ṣara wa. Gbogbo àwọn tó bá ti wà kọ́ńtírárì sí Ìgbòho àtàkìtọ́yè. Wọ́n ń ṣara wa. Èèyàn burúkú ni wọ́n. Ẹ̀ṣẹ́ àrídọ́kọ̀ra wọn pọ̀ sọ́nà kan. Ó yẹ kí inú yín máa dùn. Olúwa ti fojú ẹsẹ̀ bí hàn. Wọn ò ní ìkọ̀kọ̀ lọ́wọ́. Ìran lọ́wọ́ ẹgbẹ́. Yorùbá nation wọ́n fi ṣe bísíǹsì ni. Wọ́n ọ̀jà fún yín. Wọ́n lè jọmọ ọ̀yẹ́ yín. Àwọn ẹni bí àárín yín. Àwọn tó kì í ṣe fún Yorùbá. Àwọn ẹlẹ́jẹ̀jẹ̀jẹ̀. Àwọn mẹ́rin yẹn o. Torí ọ̀la ìsọ pé Yorùbá tó wá ti lọ fẹ́ fọ́dà. Nígbà kan mọ èkó jókòó lé wa lórí. Ẹ sáà níbi àwọn jẹ̀lílì ìjọboyó. Jẹ̀lílì àǹkó ìjọboyó. Ẹ sáà ní wọ́n yẹn ń ṣe. Àwọn bíi black ant. Ẹni tó ń sìn. Kò lè gbádùn kí Jésù máa fi dé. Àwọn bíi tàwọn dé. Ẹ sáà mọ̀ wọn. Yorùbá nation. Ẹ ti borí àwọn ọ̀tá yín o. Alára, ọbí gbowó ṣà, ọba Akíntóyè, ọbọ̀rìkì, ọba dára, ọmọ ní dára, ọ̀dára, ọbẹ̀nìkè, ọba Bẹ́ẹ̀kìtì.
Good night, Mother Peace.
Yorùbá wuyì, ọbọ̀ ṣàtọ́lá, ọbọ̀ ṣàlọ́mọ ní Germany. I'm Dr. Sebi. Thank you. Oh, thank you. Happy Yalaje, Yami. Happy Yalaje. Happy House. Happy Yorùbá nation. Happy Yorùbá nation. Adúgbàlọ́wọ́ yìí ẹ má dájà rọ sísọ. Ẹ ti nára, ẹ ti nọ́ba. Àyà wá balẹ̀, a ti dúpẹ́. Àgọ́ yìí ló máa jáde ẹ̀wọ̀n. Òmìnira, omi tó nìyàn lára wọn ṣe Yorùbá nation. Onítìrí ti sáà, kò bá máa bẹ̀rẹ̀. Ó dẹ̀ wọlé, ó dorí dọ̀tí. Wọ́n ti lé wọn gbó. Àwọn ṣe gan ni. Ṣé ọmọ ẹrú ni yín ni? Ṣé ọmọ parọ́ fún yín kù ni? Ẹ ṣe gan báyìí. Ọlọ́run ti lé àwọn ọ̀tá sọ́nà kan. Wọ́n ti lulẹ̀. Ẹ ti lé wọn. Kí lè ń pọ̀ wọlé fún wọn wà relevant. Yorùbá nation. Yorùbá nation. Yorùbá nation. Yorùbá nation. Yorùbá nation. Ẹgbẹ́ Yorùbá nation lárugẹ. Ẹgbẹ́ láyé lárugẹ. Ẹgbẹ́ sì ń lárugẹ. Àdẹ́tìtì yìí nìyẹn. Tẹ bá sọnù. Ẹ máa wá nǹkan tí ò Thank you. Thank you.
And that is the voice. A breaking news is coming. I'm going to be telling you about that, about our late brother Yinka Odumekun. The mother dies at 93. May her soul rest in peace. I'm sure a lot of you remember our brother Yinka Odumekun, Odumakin rather, Odumaki. The mother just passed on at age 93. May her soul rest in peace. As the audio, for those probably that could not understand the Yoruba language in there, it's actually explaining that the Yoruba nation is still an ongoing project, but there have been a lot of infiltrators amongst us, like the Duponitiri and our media, that continue to portray a different narratives out there. So we hope that if you're still one of those that listen to them, you got to be very careful. Because, good evening to you, Mrs. Rukayat Naomi, and welcome to the program. So if you're one of those that is listening to them, you are definitely likely to get caught up in their own little mess. As I'm going to be handing over back, to the studio where we have been on, Mrs. Comfort Ologunja said maybe the loan is to fix his teeth. They are looters. What a shame. Thank you so much, for that comment. And once again, thank you to everyone that have, been with us for the right up to the hour. As we end this tonight, I'll be back again next week, Wednesday. Like I said, we will see if we can get a representative from the government in exile. Myself and Bishop Adesina will be coming on air, if not tomorrow, latest Friday, where we give you heads up. It's going to be on our sister broadcast, and we'll be discussing everything about the Yoruba postcode as well. Before we go, we play the just only track that we have here tonight. We couldn't play any because it's been a very detailed program tonight, so there was not enough time to play any track in between. But we can't go without playing one, and that one will be definitely Yoruba Nation by Janet. That continue, as we say, wherever we are, let us encourage more people to know the reason why we want to opt out of Nigeria. And as I said, Yoruba Nation is a non-going back. Yes, Dizzy 123 say our condolence to the family and friends of Odumaki. If we go back, and I met him once during one of my visits to Pa Ayodibanjo's house, and I never knew that would be the final time I'll be meeting him. A very dedicated activist, a believer of the Yoruba people, but unfortunately, he died before his time. This is Janet. As we say, Yoruba Nation is ongoing. Bí ṣe fi ń sílẹ̀ ní alẹ́ yìí tó tún di ọ̀sẹ̀ tó ń bọ̀, mo kí ọkùnrin, mo kí ọmọdé, mo kí gbogbo àwọn tí wọ́n wà pẹ̀lú wa lórí ètò talẹ́ tí a mọ̀ sí Star Radio UK, the finest African and Caribbean radio station in London. Mo kí àwọn producer mi Frank and Archie. Ó tún di ọ̀sẹ̀ tó ń bọ̀ nígbà tá a tún máa gbé èyí tí a tún máa mọ̀ wá. But now, let's listen more to Janet, Yoruba Nation. Once again, as we say to all Nigerians, your right to freedom, your right to a good governance is something that should have happened for 24 years, but that has not happened. As the tribunal case that we started with, we can't say what will be the outcome, but for me as a person and those that believe that the Yoruba people, it is time for us to have our own separate independent nation. This can be done without any fight. This can be done with engagement between ourselves and the representative of the Yoruba part. But it seems that probably maybe they are not ready yet, but we will continue to have dialogue, peace, and finding a lasting solution that the Yoruba people will exit Nigeria. And on that note, in just 30 seconds, let's listen more again. Happy birthday to everyone in the month of this beautiful May. Happy birthday to Michael Idowu. Happy birthday in advance to my very, very beautiful sister. She will be celebrating her birthday within the next 24 hours. From Starr Radio UK, we're saying happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to everyone in the month of May. And if you've lost someone as well, we pray that the Almighty Lord will be able to console you, because losing someone is a very, very difficult situation. That is how far I can go. My producer has already sent the signal. We can't go further than this, and I'll be handing over to them as well. And I say, good evening. Enjoy the rest of the evening. It is the finest African and Caribbean radio station in London, and I will be back same time next week. And make sure you tune in with me tomorrow from 11 o'clock when we go into the update from Nigeria. My name is Olayomi Koiki, and this is Starr Radio UK. This program has been going on since 2017, and we say thank you so much to those of you that have stood with us in that year up to date. Every 6 p.m. since 2017, every Wednesday, and to myself, the sound engineer. And if there's any glitch out there, bear with us. Technology sometimes cannot be as you expect it, especially the quality. That might be something that you might be thinking, we're working on it and we hope it will improve. But for now, have a very great evening, and bye for now as we play this, our lovely track, Janet. And we can come off now from the Starr Radio link where I say that comes down, and then it will just be our own platform now, which is koikimedia. So, and I say thank you so much for the pata adroti. It's not been as easy, but we're grateful. We're trying our best. As you can see, working around the clock is a lot of job, just as anybody working as well. This is what I do. I'm going to just move a little bit close to my camera because I was actually using operating from the studio in the house. I couldn't make it down to the studio today. Sometimes it's like that, but we appreciate everyone that have joined us tonight. Our phones that in Instagram, Twitter. Media entails choice_cash. Eshigoni, thank you so much. Like I always say, we are not here fighting a Yoruba person, but we are just here to say Nigeria is just too late to be rectified. And at the time, you cannot do anything. Big Peter, big no dey beg say criminal ni kò sí nǹkan kan tó lè ṣe. Mo kí yàwá Rukayat ẹ̀pẹ̀kẹ̀ tó wọlé, but àrí ìlógò yìí. It is just too late. Nigeria, forget it. Kò lè work. It's a waste of time. Trying to want to fix Nigeria, very good time to travel. These are all the trips that Buhari took while he came to power. Buhari didn't learn anything. Ó tún lọ last lap in London. Hotel they dúró pé kóun ṣe tán ní May 29 kó wá treat again. He can't wait. He has to make it to London for the coronation, and then more reason the quality camera me. It wasn't like that, but I don't know. Mo ní láti delete the explicit day cam yẹn. Ẹ rí pé ó gbé kọ́lọ̀ aṣọ ìjáde, gbogbo ẹ̀kọ́ dúdú wá nínú the other one ni. Màá ní láti delete ẹ̀, màá wá honest. I don't know why. Kò yẹ kó rí bẹ́ẹ̀. So it might be something I've done. Bí a mo ti fọwọ́ kàn kankan. Enhanced lighting. Okay, mo lè change the. Gbogbo ẹ̀kọ́ dúdú wókòwòkò. Wọ́n á wò bẹ́ẹ̀ tí ó ṣẹ̀ dé sí London ní ṣá. I don't know why. Remove the chair. Let me remove chair. I don't know. Something's just not right. So money that you adjust it. Ẹ má bínú gan. You know. Èmi gan mọ̀ pé quality yẹn kò dáa rárá. Ó dull gidi ni. I don't know why, but I sort it out. Como ti notice it, not let the jump time. So I don't know, but my resolve it. So, Kimalo, it's been a long day. You know, this is the third program we are running today. Kimalo, Joko Kimbo, other programs and spend, you know, how do you bed? Spend a little bit of time with them. Eshigon, everybody, appreciate you all. Mo wo pa ben tó jẹ́ dé London ní ṣá lórí camera yẹn. Ó tẹ̀ ń bí mi nínú bí ṣe ń wò pé aṣọ tí mo jẹ́ blue ó dẹ̀ sọ gbẹ̀dí dúdú mọ́ mi lọ́rùn. And my lighting is very good as well, but you know, it's one of those things. I don't know. It wasn't like that. I delete it, I install it again. So bó ṣe jẹ́ nìyẹn. Ẹ jẹ́ fi sílẹ̀ ká lè give me a little rest. It's been a long day. Program mẹ́ta láti ṣe lé nìyí sìn. It's not easy. Mo kí ó gbẹ́ntà wà lórí Instagram. You know, Jessica, thank you so much for joining us. I appreciate. And the rest of everyone on the Instagram. Quite a lot of you there. Can't mention all your names, but I know you're all there. If this is not the kind of thing you want to listen to, there's so many things out there you can listen to as well. I don't believe in Nigeria. Nigeria needs to break. Slim Bashi Mokia. Waris Jinadu. So I end the program. And I say, we end it with Don't Say IGBOHO, which is our favorite. The love is too much. The love is too much. So, if there's no emergency, then there's no reason for us to be live again. But apart from that, we just keep updating our platforms with the blog, the news, column phone, okay, Odumaki, orúkọ ẹ̀tọ́ sápá mi lórí. Mo kí gbogbo alẹ́ nǹkan ṣe, gbogbo ẹni tẹ́ wà lẹ́nu iṣẹ́, ẹ̀yà ṣẹ́ o. Àwa ti ṣe full 8 hours lẹ́nu, ṣèmi náà ti try. We started with about 2 hours. Then we went to Starr Radio UK. We did another probably about 2 hours or 3 hours. This is another 2 hours. So 2.5 hours again here. So we've done almost 8 hours, which is what the law recommend. 8 to 5. Check it out now. Bye for now.
Kashishe, kashishe, kajola. ẹ má fojú ko eruku ata abẹ́ ń bẹ eruku ata tí o ti fojú ko àbáwọ̀ gbogbo Nàìjíríà ẹ bá fojú ko ata ẹ lójú.
ọmọ Oòduà ọ̀gá Fúlàní ló jẹ́ o. Yorùbá nation yìí ti gbogbo wa ni kó má gbọ́dọ̀ bàjẹ́ torí kò sílùú mìíràn.
Life is so funny. You come with nothing, then fight for everything, and later leave everything and go back with empty hand. God is powerful.
Koikimedia, bringing the world closer to your doorstep. Yoruba nation for life. Yoruba nation, no going back. All hail Biafra, all hail Odudua. Bye for now. IGBOHO, Yoruba. Udaro.